Alright, let's see how I sound. How do I sound? Ah, hey Speed. Hey Milk Cannon. Yeah, so how the two of you doing? Oh, and also I noticed that the music is a little bit louder, so let me just fix that. Oh, okay. Oh, for a second there I thought I was saying like a double audio or something. Okay, much better. Yeah, because the music sounded a little bit too loud. Yeah, no, I'm doing fine. And it's nice to know that you're doing fine too, Speed. Yeah, sorry for the loud music. Yeah, I'm actually using like a different video. I used their music before, like in the earlier raffles. We're talking about like the very first ones. Let me see if I can link the current video that I'm using. But yeah, this is basically just going to be like a small introduction music. Yeah, for today's live stream, I'm just going to be showcasing like a bunch of essay videos, like focusing on art. There we go. Yeah, so I just sent it. But yeah, so how's everyone's Tuesday so far? Going good, going bad, or like a mixture of both? Oh no, it's really nice that you noticed that, Speed. Yeah, that's an awesome GIF. It's really unfortunate that they didn't get any more seasons. Yeah, like Glitch Tech is like one of my favorite animated series to watch. Hey, Major Key. Yeah, welcome back. Yeah, so how you doing? Oh, hey, Mew. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure I made like several updates and announcements that I'm going to be streaming on Monday and Tuesday. Yeah, so I streamed yesterday, which was of course Monday. And you know, today's Tuesday, so yeah, I just want to make sure that people have more opportunities to win before I take my vacation. Oh, hey, Carter. Oh, yeah, no, you can definitely join in. But let me see here. Let me check out the rules. Well, the list of previous winners. Yeah, so far there's like currently 21 winners on here. Oh, hey, that boy Darius. Yeah, welcome back, welcome back. Yeah, so how you doing? So far we got Carter, we got that boy Darius. Though I'm pretty sure there's not going to be a lot of people participating in the art raffle since, you know, there's currently 21 winners, so. Oh, you're doing laundry. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, funny enough, I'm actually going to be doing some laundry tomorrow. All right, so I know for a fact it's just gonna be between Carter and that boy Darius. So, yeah. So are two of you guys ready? Yeah. Let me just bring out the wheel and start adding your guys' name. All right, cool. Oh, also, I do notice that the other participants that hasn't won yet are, well, not won yet, are Gadget Boy 197 and Igazilla. But yeah, so for the first man, it's just gonna be between Carter and that boy Darius. And I just gotta make sure that this thing is set to 30 seconds, and yes, it is. All right, so that boy Darius and Carter, are you two ready? Oh yeah, no, sorry. I see that Milk also wants to join in. Oh yeah, sorry for that. Yeah, let me add in Milk as well. So it's gonna be 3. Yeah, because I keep on confusing between Milk Cannon and Mike the Best. Yeah, don't worry, I see you. I'm gonna be adding you to the wheel very soon. Okay, now it's official. So this time is gonna be between 3 participants. Yeah, so Carter, Daboy Darius, and Milk. Oh, okay, no, it looks like we're getting some late participants. Oh yeah, no, you're good, Gadget. Yeah, you can join in. And of course, thank you so much for dropping your name. All right, so that's 4. So yeah, is everybody ready? All right, so I'll take that as a yes. So clicking on the wheel in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Okay, so who's going to be the first lucky winner? Oh yeah, most definitely Speed. Yeah, actually I'm a little bit surprised that I don't see Igazilla yet. Okay, let's see. All right, so the first winner is Gadget Boy 197. Yeah, congrats, man. And of course, let me just type this in the chat as always. Also, a very common thing, a very common theme that I've been seeing a lot from doing these art raffles is that whenever a person gets like entered to the very last minute, they tend to be the first winner, which is kind of crazy. Alright, so let me just throw in some of my personal emojis and send. Yeah, I know for a fact that Gadget right now is like feeling super excited. Alright, so you know the drill. Feel free to send me your idea and your references on Discord or Twitter or even on my Whisper messages here on Twitch. But I do prefer Discord since it's like my main preferable option. Oh, and of course, let me just message Gadget directly, just in case. Oh, you know, I just noticed your messages. Well, not your messages, but your comments here in the Twitch chat, Gadget. But yeah, no, congrats, man. And yeah, today is definitely your lucky day. Oh yeah, no, exactly, Speed. It's funny that you mentioned that because I did brought that up like maybe 2 or 3 minutes ago. Yeah, it happens like more than once. But yeah, so I think I'm just gonna be doing 3 sketches as mentioned in the title. Though if a majority of the ideas are like pretty easy and simple to draw, like I might do 4 sketches in total. Basically just like on yesterday's live stream. Oh yeah, I see that somebody else is messaging me on Discord. Let me just take a quick look at that. Yeah, no, I gotta respond back to them probably after the stream. Oh, and of course, not you, Gadget. I'm referring to somebody else. Oh yeah, so true, Mew. So true, so true. Also, I'm really happy that I picked out that that glitch. Oh, sorry, I meant to say GIF because I was thinking about glitch text. But yeah, so I'm very happy that I picked out that GIF. Yeah, I gotta say, it's been a long time since I've featured like Orion's music. Yeah, so Orion is this YouTube content creator who like posts these like 5 or 6 hours longs of different music. I've actually play their music as background for my earlier live streams. Oh, and of course, since there's like more people here, I'll link the video that I'm using right now. And sent. Oh yeah, so probably during my my break, I'm just gonna be just focusing on some of my personal projects. You know, just drawing some a couple of stuff for myself. You know, some extra fan art. Maybe I might even dabble in some animation too. Oh yeah, so while I'm waiting on Gadget, I'm just gonna respond to a couple of messages on my Twitter. Oh yeah, so knowing Gadget, the idea may be. I mean, I'm assuming that the idea is like somewhere between wrestling and boxing. Yeah, because I remember the last sketch request that I did for him, it involved like a Lenny Loud from the Loud House, but as a wrestler, and I still had a fun time drawing that for him. Oh yeah, so out of curiosity, has anyone seen the newest trailer to that Super Mario movie, the sequel, the one that features like Rosalina? I saw it this morning. It looks very good. Oh yeah, and of course, so once I got those references and idea from Gadget, I'm just gonna play the first video on my playlist. Oh, I just heard a ping. So let me check out my Discord real quick. All right, so it looks like it's going to be boxing related, and it's something new. It actually involves a Deltarune. Oh hey, Epic, and hey Ty. Yeah, so it's so nice to see the two of you here. Yeah, so how the buffer you doing? Oh, and of course, right now I'm just collecting the references from Gadget. All right, so that's all of those references. Let me just get rid of the rules, the wheel, and of course I just gotta hide the sketches from yesterday. Let me just open up my Clip Studio Paint over there. Beautiful. Oh, and of course I'm just gonna be displaying some of those nice YouTube videos that I saved to my playlist. So I'm just gonna take care of that pretty soon. All right. Oh yeah, no, you're definitely right about that, Ty. Oh yeah, no worries, Epic. Yeah, and I'm very happy to see that you're keeping your winning streak. Well, I mean, sorry, your streaming streak. All right, so let me see if I can find that video. Perfect. Yeah, so I just got to go back to the other window so I can pause the music.
Hustle culture, there has been a rising number of ways to make money on the side in this insanely fast society we live in. Whether it's for driving for delivery apps, drop shipping, literally just scamming people have come up with new and inventive ways to get their bread. However, there is one method that is always sourced as the easiest and fastest way to make a lot of money.
You can get a six-figure job drawing animals.
She's good at making fursuits. Fursuit makers
Oh yeah, this is like one of my favorite videos.
Have her making fursuits.
What is widely believed to be an insanely fast and easy way to get money is to open up furry commissions. But what even is a furry? If you don't know, thanks for clicking on this video. A furry is a more broad term for someone who likes anthropomorphic characters. In this context, anthropomorphic characters are when you take an animal and give them human characteristics. Famous examples of this context are Lola Bunny from Space Jam, Judy Hopps from Zootopia, the Robin Hood where he's a fox, whatever the hell that Dilf Gantu was in Lilo and Stitch, the list goes on. Now, the furry community is a community that has been subject to a lot of criticism and vitriol from various corners of the internet and in real life for many different reasons. But one thing that most people who don't like furries will point out is the sheer quantity over quality approach that some of the artists take. Whether it's insanely high quality images that make you appreciate the miracle of sight or works that look like a leaked Chris Chan drawing, there are hundreds of furry commissions being done every single day, and people are paying absolute bank for that. Highly skilled artists who have influence and great back catalog typically charge anywhere from $100, $200. Some artists even charging over $500 for one of their pieces. This has led to people broadly assuming that furries will pay for literally anything. To help this argument, there's one person infamous in the furry community who has apparently spent upwards of $100,000 on images of the Star Fox characters Fox and Falco being 100 feet tall and doing the stanky leg on some buildings. Please don't Google it. And while people will say the furries will buy anything comments are just jokes, people still assume it's true because of stories like that. However, when talking about that to my friends who are furry artists or just furries in general, I've learned that some of them hate that sentiment. Some have gone into a whole tirade about how furries won't just buy anything. You have to have the actual quality in your art. You have to actually want to draw it. You can't just half-ass it. And for that reason, the community can sniff out a poser. So it's like the metal community, but with fur. Some of them have told me that furries want to commission artists with a big online presence. So if you don't have that presence, it's not that easy to get a commission as a new artist. So I've heard this debate raging on for years. I keep seeing this sentiment on my timeline for and against it, and I've decided I've had enough of it. So today, April 5th, 2024, I'm going to finally answer the question, how much money can you make off furry art? So to truly answer this question, I can't half-ass this. I need to fully dedicate myself to the craft, so I'm going to be learning how to draw furry art. In fact, I'm going to be learning how to draw art in general because I cannot draw. Sounds easy enough, right? Now, to set up the parameters of this experiment, I will have 2 months to prepare my art skills and then 2 months to post my art to the world and try to get as many commissions as I possibly can. Now, like in my PNG tuber video, which you should watch if you haven't, I have completion goals for this experiment too. To succeed at this experiment, I must complete at least one of the following goals. 1, get at least 1 commission. 2, get my pages to at least 100 followers. 3, get at least 1 post to 100 likes or retweets. And 4, death threats. Yes, death threats are a very common way to win this experiment, trust me. Now, full transparency, I did this experiment last year in 2023, but hopefully it should go well. So for posting, I'm going to start in the month of July 2023 on a brand new Twitter account, as Twitter is the social media I personally use the most often. Plus, I have personally seen success stories on there very frequently, even with the transfer of power over to Elon. So now that I'm going to start doing this experiment, Where do I even start with learning how to draw furry art? I have no clue. Better yet, how and why do people even start drawing this stuff? Is it for the money? Is it for the love of art? Is it for a third thing that I cannot say without getting demonetized? I do not know. Now, I can't answer this without some field research, so I contacted 5 different furry artists to ask them all these questions. Starting out with, how did they get into furry art and how long have they been doing it?
Really never had like a knack for art or anything until lockdown, drawing random characters and whatnot. I have friends who were furries, so like I just started drawing their characters and stuff, and then like 2 years later, here I am.
When I was a kid, I was watching, for example, these cartoons like Sonic the Hedgehog. I started drawing a bit of those characters, and then I watched the movie, for example, of Space Jam. I think many people know that movie. Basically, for many of us, an introduction into this world.
Well, I started drawing about 10 years ago. I started drawing wolves and foxes, but I didn't know that was furry art until 2 years ago, and a friend introduced me to furry fandom, and I was, what's a furry? And he showed me people doing furry art, and I was like, wow, that was a whole world out there, and I didn't know.
I've always been like doing doodles myself, even as like just stick figure comics. I just saw a lot of reptilian characters, and I thought I like those designs, and I started doodling them myself, and then ended up sharing art with my friends. Got a small tablet, digital art. They bullied me to making a Twitter, which is hellhole as we know. So that was about 3 years ago, and I joined Twitter. But about 6 years ago, when I started doing like personal doodles.
Well, when I got into furry art, I think it was like 8 years ago. I started doing like anime art style, but then when I got to DeviantArt, I started to look to find those artists that were like doing this like furry art style, and I don't know, I just thought it was like fun to do, and that's when I started doing it.
I then wanted to ask why they started doing commissions to see what the average time frame was. Some said they did it from the beginning, some said they were pressured into it by their friends, and some said they have done it as a way to help make some extra money. I also asked for their process of doing a commission, which tended to be roughly the same for everyone. Making a post about it, talking through DMs, setting up a PayPal, and then communicating with their commissioners. With all these lovely people giving me their time, I was gaining insider knowledge on timelines, deadlines, how to handle talking to clients. I also wanted to ask for their advice to any new artist out there.
I'd say just draw what makes you happy, just because if you try to strive for improvement like just immediately, you're gonna be upset.
All references. It helped me a lot.
Have good business practices. Like if people start to notice that you just don't deliver, or just not communicate at all, they will stop commissioning you.
Don't be afraid to use references. That's a big one. Don't be afraid to draw heavily from other artists as you're learning and developing. It's a very important part of the process to finding yourself there.
It was lovely hearing those words, especially because the people saying them did not know they were giving those words of encouragement to the crazy man interviewing them. And then came the most important question. How much money have they made from doing furry art? I stressed that they did not have to disclose if they weren't comfortable, but not a soul withheld this information from me.
From around like 7 commissions, $300, $400.
$1,000.
5,000 US, like over the past 3 years.
But monthly, roughly, like, I don't know, 2K. I think like it's the less that I have made. It's 2K monthly.
Monthly?
Yeah, monthly.
What the So now that the bar has been set unrealistically high on the money expectations for this experiment, it's time to actually get to working on my art. By the way, the links of everyone I spoke to will be in the description, so go and support these people. They're really talented, have a lot of great art, very nice people. To all the people I talked to, thank you for providing me with your time, and now it's time to see the fucking monster you created. So the start of May was a pivotal moment for my journey into the furry community.
Hey, Fox. Yeah, thanks so much for coming to my live stream. How you doing? Yeah, how's your day so far?
A brief history lesson. Most furries
and of course, I'm currently working on Gadget's sketch request.
Mainly a specific animal that either
yeah, so I'm currently drawing Chris from Delta Rune.
Some furries use their persona as a way of escaping the constant monotony and, frankly, the constant struggles of everyday life. Now, there are a ton of different animals you can choose to be your persona, specifically the specific species you hyperfixate on, but for the sake of brevity, I'm gonna narrow it down to 3 main categories. Furries! These are your wolves, felines, bunnies. These personas are incredibly popular and very common in commissions. Skillies! These are your reptiles, lizards, crocodiles. We're getting a tiny bit less common here, but that means there could be less competition. Miscellaneous! These are your fish, your birds, slugs. That last one's probably not real, but I hope it is. So there are pros and cons to all of these, but I could not decide my focus yet as I had a bigger problem on my hands. anatomy. So at the start of May, I called up my good friend Sorexa and had them teach me a basic anatomy lesson.
Just full disclosure that I'm not a furry artist. Were you going for like air quote realistic kind of style, or like are we going like with chibis?
I'm gonna aim for realistic because I think that makes whatever I make funnier. In this lesson, I had to decide which angle to take, and after a long deliberation, because I feel like while we could hit as if you're gonna be drawing it with me.
I'm part of the marketing team, guys.
I decided to focus on scalies. I did this as I think the market would be a little less competitive due to there probably being less scalies seeking out commissions than furries. I cannot believe those are real words I said, but it's time to learn. I can't imagine trying to lug around a fucking like 4-pound tail.
It would be much more than 4 pounds.
After the anatomy lesson I got, I had everything I needed to start my journey to become the best furry artist ever known to man, which means I'm going to be making so much money. Speaking of money, it's Editing Tony here, by the way. Not only do I have an upload schedule now, but also I'm starting a Ko-fi. If you don't know what Ko-fi is, it's kind of like Patreon. So for $5 a month, you get some extra content. You can help me in the research segments of these longer videos, and you also get your name at the end of the videos. There's also an option just a tip if that works better for you financially, which I'd appreciate, but no hassle. Anyways, back to me learning how to draw scalies. So for the rest of May, I started taking 30 minutes each day to watch a different tutorial and to utilize that said tutorial in my sketchbook, mapping it out physically, getting acclimated to the feeling of my hands creating the next Mona Lisa. So taking the entirety of May to learn was my plan until I had like 5 different finals at college, so I had to push the learning back another month, which I think was for the best because my art was, to put it nicely, fucking dog shit. I quickly learned that me drawing as like a baby deer trying to stand for the first time, I want it to work and it just isn't. So at the start of June, I got back in contact with Dova, Feathered Snake on Twitter, and asked if he would be down to help me with teaching me more specifics about furry art. And luckily, he said yes. On top of the art exercises I was already doing, Dova started sharing with me reference sheets, websites, images, even going over why certain things I was doing wasn't working.
So your semicircle is to
God damn it. Fuck this fucking thing. Fuck my life. Fuck America. This was great as I had kept practicing in my sketchbook, meaning that I was having good progress that could actually be seen. I mean, it's still not good, but it's still better than where I started. I also took it upon myself to truly experience and understand the struggles of furry artists, because you're telling me I have to understand both human anatomy and animal anatomy at the same time? They are 2 separate things. How am I supposed to take this goober and give him muscles? Although my progress was clearly improving, I started to experience something I didn't know how to explain. I was looking at my stuff and people were saying I was getting better, but I was looking at it and no, I wasn't. This is dog shit. They're just saying that because they're my friends. This looks atrocious. I'm just copying what I see. No wonder they like that one. I'm so alone in this feeling. Not a single soul has ever experienced this before in their lives. Hey, look over there. It's Kevin explaining the definition of imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome is when people believe that they are undeserving of their achievements and the high esteem in which they are generally held. They also think people think they are way smarter than they are. And no, this is not an Among Us thing. It's a mindset thing.
Thanks, Kevin. I didn't know you could finally read.
Thanks, Tony. It only took me 2 hours.
Thanks, Kevin. In fact, imposter syndrome was something some of the artists brought up when I talked to them. It's something that nearly every artist experiences regardless of their field. In fact, I've actually experienced it myself before. If you let me vent for a little bit, I've been making and releasing music since 2013 when I was 10 years old. Jesus Christ. To summarize how my imposter syndrome formed, it made it so if I ever tried to post or share my own music, it made me physically ill. I felt like I was gonna vomit everywhere. This affected me so badly that I literally had to step away from everything music related for a full year, which is actually why we're here today. I started dedicating myself instead of to music to YouTube really hard in 2020. A year I did not anticipate having as much free time as I did. I'm luckily in a much better place now since I used that struggle to make my debut album Aphelion in 2022, an album that placed me on a Rate Your Music playlist under the name YouTubers Who Think They Can Make Music, which is cool. In short, I've seen how imposter syndrome formulates and I've found a way to combat it myself firsthand. From this point on, I kept going, suffocating the imposter syndrome by drawing whatever this thing is. Seriously, I keep drawing this thing. I think it's a lizard. If he's gonna stick around, I probably should give him a name though, right? Something that expresses his pure power. Something that screams fear. Something that will be remembered for years to come. His name is Brian the Lizard. Brian the Lizard felt like an old friend I've always had, even though he had been just born into this world this month. I kept drawing him in as many poses as I could to get adjusted to learn my strengths and weaknesses and be able to work with any potential pose that a commissioner could throw at me. I continued to work on my anatomy and eventually tackled every artist's favorite thing to draw: hands. I first drew what I originally pictured hands to be, and they look fun. I then watched a video on how to draw hands and looked at some references and was able to create this page. The improvement is immediately noticeable here, and I may have been able to get better at hands if I continued to focus severely on them, which I admittedly did not. However, what I did focus on was the bust image, an image that specifically features a character's head and neck, as profile picture commissions are fairly common, and I'd be able to focus my work on two different things, rather than spreading it out to every single aspect of the human body. So my main practices here were to make sure that the head and neck looked normal, but anything else was an added bonus. Anyways, time was rapidly approaching for me to start this experiment, so I wanted to show off some of my artwork to someone before I officially transitioned to digital art. So I showed off my art to my friend Lindsay and got their advice.
That's actually not horrible. This is definitely a very good start. I don't know what's going on with that. I think that's an experiment. I don't know. Is that Darth Vader?
Yeah, that's Darth Vader. I did not realize the appropriate anatomy thing.
Those are birthing hips. Any character you draw is being birthed through these hips right here.
Yeah, those hips.
You could fit so many commissions for that.
After showing off my art to the outside world and spending the last few days getting some final drawing reps in, it had officially turned to July, which meant it was officially July. It also meant this experiment has finally started. Now, since it is July and I have just started my account, I wanted it to seem believable that I would have just started a brand new account. What's my name gonna be? It should be something silly. Lizard in Welsh is Madfall, which is crazy. Musker. I think it's Musker. Brian Musker. So I came up with the backstory that my previous one was hacked, and this was me starting fresh again. I also threw in some fun personality bits there to get people to like me immediately. I feel like Brian's really into astrology and inspirational quotes. You know he's a Pisces and a Cancer, and he's Sagittarius. Pisces for life. I also made a tweet covering my ass and tried posting some memes to get in the algorithm and to make my account look more real. Now that didn't do anything for my account, but I was working on something that would, transitioning from traditional art to digital art. Now, when I had brought this video idea up to some of my friends at the time, and I told them that I was going to be switching to digital art right as the experiment started, some of them laughed at me. Why is that? I'm just drawing again, right? Well, the problem is with drawing digitally over physically is that there is a huge culture shock going from being able to draw physically anywhere you want in a sketchbook to being restricted to this tiny square equating for your entire screen. I'm sure the artists out there watching can relate, but for those who don't know, I cannot properly explain how confusing this is until you try it for yourself. The best comparison I could think of is it's like getting used to a normal computer keyboard, but then you got moved to a stenographer keyboard, which is like Guitar Hero, but for courtrooms. Anyways, I finally got Credo working, and I felt like I just picked up a pencil for the first time in my entire life. Muscle memory doesn't fully apply here, as you have to morph your drawing style to whatever size tablet you have, which isn't annoying in the slightest. However, the good news with Krita is that I was finally able to color my art. This was a fun thing I had not done before in my practice months, mainly because I feel more confident working with color on the computer because I have a point of reference to see what the color I'm using actually looks like. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it, but I'm colorblind. I'm protanopia colorblind, which basically means I can see colors, but I see them fuckers wrong. If I had $1 for every time I told someone I was colorblind and then someone pointed immediately to grass and asked me if I knew what color it was, I would have more money than all the furry artists I talked to combined. Anyways, after spending an hour drawing a few poses and finally settling on one, I needed to give Brian the Lizard some color. So I got to coloring, and when I was finally done, I finally had a piece that I was relatively proud of. Oh my god! I'd put that one on the fridge. So I posted poor Brian to Twitter using some popular and relevant hashtags, and I waited for the engagement to roll in. Of course, it didn't immediately roll in, so I kept drawing some more so I'd have a backlog of art that I could post throughout the week to make me look more productive than I actually was. I decided to focus some more on bust images since that's where I think the money's really gonna come rolling in for. So I decided to do exactly that. I utilized all my skills I had garnered from my practice and the advice of my mentors, especially gaining this smiley mouth thing that I started to add on every image. When I was done with this image for the first time, I was proud, but looking at it again in April, I'm even prouder. Mind you, this also didn't get any engagement or any interaction in the slightest, so that's fun. But you wanna know what is fun? My next piece of art actually got engagement. 1 like. I keep getting told this looks like Family Guy.
Oh my god, yes, I was thinking the same thing.
I think this is when I truly realized I might have been in over my head because these suck ass. You know when you can't tell a kindergartner that the thing they made was an affront to God, so you just say it's so creative? That's what everyone was doing to my art. I also learned the hard way that I had committed accidental plagiarism. I got told Brian looks like Agumon from Digimon, and yeah, I can't argue that. So Brian needed an extreme makeover and fast. So I decided to change his color scheme to a bit more of a unique one, with his predominant color being white now, with orange still being in the mix just as his inner body pattern. I also gave him 3 spikes on his head and 2 main spikes on his shoulders, alternating between white and orange. And this next image looks objectively so much better. In fact, if you put these 2 images next to each other, people might not be able to immediately recognize that it was made by the same person. I'm not gonna fact check this, so let's assume for the sake of the argument, I'm right. So after coming up with the new Brian and sharing him to the world to get no likes or engagement, I decided to make a bust image of Brian that I think looks pretty good. It's obviously not perfect, but I think with only 2 months experience with art, it's pretty dang good. Not to mention I got 1 retweet, which was from myself, so I realized very quickly that Twitter might not have been the best place to start this experiment. Mainly because Twitter was trying to blow up, which I was taking really well.
Nothing's working. I have tried hashtags, but hashtags don't work. I have tried keywords. Keywords don't work. I have tried emotes because I heard that might work. It doesn't. This is so frustrating because I know how to market content, at least a little bit. Like I know how to get the ball rolling just enough to where people can find it. But on Twitter, because you know the fucking rat is doing it. Kevin, I'm sorry.
Dover recommended that I really get into the community and start interacting with my fellow peers, so I did exactly that. So I kept trying to post memes to make me look more legitimate, and I also replied to people's posts and engaged with them to make me seem very real. My replies got 1 like, a reply that said thank you, and that was it. So I had to pivot. I tried posting Germa memes, which seems to be an engagement cheat code, and that might have gotten patched when Elon bought Twitter. So to keep myself on track, I did a body study to help keep my art skills fresh, which I don't think I should show in this video because I accidentally gave Brian a crazy hot dog in his pants. But maybe that was the goal because this tweet had gotten the most engagement so far, with 2 likes and a retweet. The retweet being from me and the likes being from a small furry artist in an account called Censored Beta Safe Zone. So I was in good company, so lost, dazed, and confused, and with like no one following me, I decided to post my commission sheet in case someone organically found my account. However, my commission sheet was not perfect at first, and I needed some help.
You need to change the top one to headshot commission, and then the bottom one to bust commission, because longer bust commission just sounds stupid. And also you need to change the numbers, like the money amount, from handwritten to typed, because that looks like a scam. I would not click on that.
I decided to charge $5 for a bust and $10 for a half body, something I originally called a headshot, which is hilarious because they're the same thing. Anyways, I drew Brian on the Weezer cover with his shirt off, because why not? And I got 2 likes from, I think, real people, which was nice for my ego, but it didn't matter for the experiment because they didn't follow me. You wanna know who did follow me though? A small account that liked one of my tweets and then went inactive, and then 2 porn bots! So essentially, I was throwing my art into an echo chamber, hoping for someone to show up, which never happened. I tried branching out, retweeting a lot of art. I even made one of those funny Twitter memes, but it was about Aphex Twins, so no one understood it. I posted these turtles I saw having sex at the zoo, but yet another banger went unnoticed, unseen, uncared for, unloved, forever forgotten, and I was miserable. I even tried participating in one of those Twitter artist trends where you quote tweet something with your best art, and that usually gets picked up in the algorithm, but this didn't work either. And just when I thought Twitter couldn't blow up any harder,
Twitter is now X.com. I work on the Morbius video for 2 days, and you go and rebrand it to X.com, one of the most popular social medias ever, just cause? You wanna know what was great about the old Twitter logo? I can't believe I'm saying old. You could recognize it at any size. I can't fucking recognize this when it's upscale.
I don't want to call it too early, but I think I chose the worst month possible to do a Twitter experiment. It was so bad I made a Twitter meme about it, and like usual, my loyal fans did not interact with it, which sucked because I branched out and I drew a shark for Shark Week that I think looks kind of cool, but neither post got any engagement, even though I posted it twice. I even drew something non-furry related and related it to the Travis Scott album that dropped that week, hoping the keyword of utopia would catch on, but not even God himself saw this image. I made one tweet that I was about to see Oppenheimer reusing Brian on Fire, and I said, I'll update later how it goes. And I never followed up on that tweet, and I think if I didn't mention it in this video, no one would have ever known. So the end of the month has gotten here, and I have made a grand total of no money. Maybe I was doing something wrong. Was my art that atrocious? I realized I had kept pretty much to myself outside of my mentor Dova, and I wasn't getting the feedback online. So I had to resort to showing off my art to my friends to get their constructive criticism. You ready for the first piece of art?
I originally started with this guy.
That's awesome.
Wow. We all start somewhere.
This looks like Mario porno fan art.
Why is he so jacked?
What a hunk.
I'm gonna aim for realistic.
It's like if Family Guy made furries.
It's almost like if Charizard was a frat boy. That's kind of the that's kind of the vibes I'm getting here.
And then I changed the color scheme, and this is new Brian the Lizard.
I love Brian.
What happened to his abs?
You unjacked him.
No, his abs still exist.
No,
So then I made a bust in the headshot, which if you don't know art terms,
Wait
that's
a minute, that's not like.
Oh my god, this next one. This was not drawn to be NSFW. I just fucked up. I gave him a giant hot dog.
Dang, dude. Okay. Yeah. Why is he packing? I like how he's like doing my best and he's like kind of flexing a little bit. This is gonna sound a little wild, but that's not where my eyes are drawn to, okay? I'm just gonna be honest. He ain't got no muscle, but he got some meat, okay?
Do you love the art?
No.
Thanks, guys. Now, like I briefly mentioned in the intro, the original plan for this video was to only do 1 month of the experiment on Twitter, but then I wouldn't have a video. So then I decided to extend this experiment into August, but on Instagram as well, which, spoiler alert, did significantly better. So if I have not mentioned it, I chose the name Death Capsules because it's just cyanide, but fun. So I set that name up for Instagram and I posted my profile pic with similar hashtags. And this post actually got 5 likes and I actually got followers off rip. This was great because I already had a back catalog of art that I could just post as if I had just made it. I even posted a sketch page I did and it got 7 likes. I even got a comment from someone real for once. Oh my goodness, within a week, Instagram is proving that they may in fact be better than Twitter this year. I even got to message some small artists and most of them were so nice and gave me some really nice words of encouragement. One artist couldn't believe that I'd only been digitally drawing for 2 months and that I was mad talented just for 2 months, which was nice, but they were also 16. Anyways, I posted my comm sheet and then got back to some new artwork because you must always keep improving. This image is cute right here because the random shards on his vest aren't actually random shards, it's actually Mercury theory.
I didn't know that.
I even made this skunk and labeled it a 5-minute challenge, which was an outright lie. This took me 30 minutes and it's supposed to be a gecko. I will not take criticism. And I also made my first ever half body that I feel actually fairly good on. Like I look at this and I go, this is passable. If I saw this made by someone else, I wouldn't fawn over it, but I'd definitely be a little bit intrigued. I also love that the bots on Instagram found me too because I posted some alts of the beachfront Brian post that I had made. And because I used hashtag new artist, the bots thought I was promoting an album, so they wrote DM on Capitol Records. What would this album even sound like? My guess is a mix of the chill vibes of Jimmy Buffett and the griminess of Griselda. Hey, yo! Anyways, I kept posting and I made some dolphin looking bitch, which does not matter. But the 2 things that do matter is that this post got the most engagement out of anything I posted either Twitter or Instagram, which is very funny to me because it got 11 likes. Don't get me wrong, for an artist that's just starting out with no promotion, that's awesome. But I came into this experiment trying to make money. Also, the other thing about this post is that his shirt says, I didn't know that you lied, which really reads like some r/I'm 14 and this is deep type beat. Actually, it's just a direct callback to Mercury theory again. Now, I haven't really addressed it here, but while Instagram was doing great, I wanted to see if I could pull the comeback of the century and get engagement on Twitter. So I kept posting and I kept posting and I posted all my art at basically the same time and nothing fucking happened. If I tweeted bomb threats, would that change anything? I will say my dolphin image did get 3 likes, one of them being from me, but that's 3 likes on Twitter. That's almost 100. Back on Instagram, I posted a shift in art that I think might be the best piece of art I created in this entire experiment. This is Eric the Shark because I love giving mythical creatures normal last names. I even captioned it, say hi to Eric, and 1 person did. Thank you, furry_personas. I even made my final OC for this experiment, a black lizard named Reese that got 8 likes. He wasn't as appreciated, but he still was loved on Instagram. However, he was not loved on Twitter, where I also tweeted shit like I could post my credit card and my passport here and no one would fucking see it. I also posted my updated commission sheet by saying I'm open for commissions again, but I know I'm just screaming into a fucking ether here. Did you know 2 of my 3 followers are porn bots? That means 66.66% of my audience isn't real. How the fuck am I supposed to market to that, dude? I'll draw your OC for fucking anything, please. I was having a great time. Anyways, the experiment was rapidly reaching the end and I still had not gotten
Oh yeah, so like speaking of commissions, like I've been browsing browsing on Twitter for a very good week or more, and yeah, I've been noticing a lot of artists have been like opening up their commissions.
Experiment a failure. It didn't help at all.
Yeah, especially like underneath my For You tab.
I got a common commission scam in my DMs where some person who doesn't follow you DMs you and asks if you can draw a picture of their son's pet for them. It's always their kid's pet. They'll also gush about how good your art is without getting into any specifics. Like Mary here wanted a full body with a yellow background and at least 3 pieces of her son's dog and said that they could only budget $200 for this. Mind you, the most expensive
Oh yeah,
thing
no,
on my
that
commission sheet
right there is
$10,
definitely a
so I kept
scam.
trying to get Mary to answer which specific artwork jumped out
Yeah,
at
because
her,
that
and
happened to
after
me a
avoiding the
couple of
question a
times,
few times,
especially on Twitter.
the artwork that made me jump
But yeah, those
to
are
you.
just like fake accounts just trying to get your
I also got
information.
this DM from someone with a name I'm not even going to try to pronounce, and they just sent me this ominous ass message. If you would like to have that, I would also like to have a relationship with you. And I just replied, hell yeah, brother, and they left me on scene. However, the true fight came out against a giant threat, a story of promise, betrayal, and it all came from my mortal enemy, Mark Williams. Mark had messaged me on August 19th at 6 p.m. and opened up with just the loveliest message. Greetings to you, my dear friend. When I saw your artworks, they are so amazing. Clap emoji. I love heart them so much. Other heart. You are doing a great job. Nice to meet you. Will you mind selling to me as NFT? Now red flags immediately went off, but I'm a small artist. I need all the interaction I can get. So I replied back and said it was nice to meet him too, but I don't know if I do NFTs, but I appreciate the gesture, which Mark got back to me almost instantly and said, you don't know what NFT is? And I responded, do you? And Mark went at 2 a.m. Yes. So Mark specifically sent me a few pieces of my artwork he liked and said, I want to buy them as NFT. I will buy each for 4.12 Ethereum, non-fungible token. They are a digital asset that are traded with cryptocurrencies and are guided by smart contacts. NFTs are quite easy to make. I requires a well-taken picture, registering on an NFT market and paying a little gas fee and listing it. That's all quick and easy. And I responded, sick as fuck, bro, dude, I love them. How much ETH is that USD, dude? To which Mark replied, is $6,912 for each one. Mark Williams is saying he'd pay upwards of almost $7,000 for this shit. He's so nice. He's like Mr. Beast, but for furries. So we went on a dance routine of Mark trying to get me to go on a shady website, and I kept dancing around the subject by playing extremely naive, disguising it with a genuine, I'm sorry, I'm very new to this. So I just kept writing okay, and he wrote, have you registered and mint your artwork? Then you have to found with Ethereum worth 0.27 ETH for the gas fee to enable you to upload your artworks into NFT so that I can purchase them and make payments to you immediately, okay? Gas fee? Forgive me if I sound dumb, like the gas for my car? What does that fee have to do with any of this? 0.27 ETH doesn't sound like much either. Is that 27 cents? I'm very unfamiliar, I will admit. That's the fee you pay to the platform to make your account to be active and also enable you to upload your artworks into the NFT platform for sale so that I can purchase them and make payments to you immediately, okay? And then I crumble at any authority, so I just wrote, okay. Do you know how to purchase Ethereum on your crypto wallet? I don't think so. Send the screenshot of your wallet for directions on how to purchase Ethereum and fund your gas fees to enable you upload. Okay, here it is. And I didn't attach shit, to which Mark was immediately on my ass. I can't see what you sent. Weird, I can see it. You can't? I don't understand you anymore. Don't you want to sell? Don't you want to buy? Have you uploaded? He just keeps trying to steer it back to me uploading it so he can scam me. What made my art jump out at you? You know, I'm really trying to get him to answer. And, you know, I really got to him. I want to purchase them because I love the colors and the designs. And I wrote, thank you so much. And Mark immediately got back into it. Can you follow procedures and upload for me to purchase? So I didn't know what to do. He was not fucking budging. I was not budging. So I sent him, okay, so I was in the middle of uploading and minting. Then the local mall exploded. I have no power. What the fuck? And then he did not reply. So I left him a heartfelt message. Mark, I just wanted to say I appreciate you and your patience this past month on trying to help me with this NFT thing. It means the world that someone is interested in my art. Enough to pay $6,912 for it, especially when I've just started 2 months ago. Having to try to guide me. Someone who has had every surgery this week. Through this has shown your patience, your resolve, and your kindness. Thank you for everything, Mark Williams. You've shown me true hope and the fact that I can legally say for my video that I made $6,000. Thank you! But then he got pissed. That's all right. You didn't want to sell to me. You were just wasting my time for nothing. Mark, with all due respect, you have never followed me, interacted with any of my posts, and have yet to prove you are the real deal yourself. We can all walk away agreeing that we played a beautiful game. It's all right. Have a nice day. One last thing, though. Can you say how much you would have paid in USD? I'm just curious. It's about $4.05 USD. $6,912 down to $4. Master negotiator. I mean, Ethereum is 405. It seems you don't understand English of Ethereum. And I wrote, bro said the English of Ethereum. You are a fool. And then he deleted his account. So with Mark out of the picture and my $6,912 that went down to $4 being ripped out of my hands, it was the last week of the experiment and I'd realized I was not gonna get a commission. Fuck! Meaning that I was gonna finally fail one of my experiments, which I'm not doing now. But then it hit me. I realized I had an ace in the hole. You remember my friend Sorexa who taught me anatomy all the way at the beginning of this video? I had not shown them any of my digital art yet, so they had no idea what it looked like. So I asked them if they would be okay doing another video call to go over my work, but I also threw out a Hail Mary, a very depressing Hail Mary. I straight up asked them if they would be okay buying a commission for me so I would pass the experiment. So the fate of my video was in their hands and I was on the edge of my seat. Was I a fraud? Had I wasted my entire summer on this video? Is this video gonna get like 400 views max? All questions I had, and then I got a message. Yahoo. Since Sorexa had no furry characters of their own, let alone any scalies, they decided to commission a bust image of the popular Pokemon Zalazzle, the girl boss of Pokemon. The specific parameters were bust image, Zalazzle, and her winking. All my training, all my practice had come to this. Guys, I have good news. My cat may have died, but at least I got a commission ordered. Yeah! So I booted up Krita and started drawing, knowing I could not disappoint my first and last client ever. So I pulled up some reference photos and I got to work, spending an hour and a half perfecting an image that will be long forgotten the second you scroll past it on Instagram. And when I finally finished the commission, I had never felt happier. But I realized I still had to impress not only my first client, but my mentor as well. Would I impress them and be the talk of the town? Or would I lose my good friend's respect forever after making and posting cringe? There was only one way to find out. So we hopped on a call and I showed them. You spent 5 buckaroonies on this. How excited are you to see your Zalazzle commission?
Extremely excited.
Here we go. Open wide. Here's Zalazzle.
Oh my god. There she is.
She's real.
Oh my god, it even says first ever commission in the corner.
It does.
It's so cute.
How do you feel?
She's just as great as I remember her. Don't stop now. Like, I mean, like, you literally started from scratch. To make that much progress in such a short amount of time, it's really cool to see, you know?
Oh my god, thank you. It's safe to say that they loved the piece and did not regret their purchase in the slightest, which means I won the experiment and I officially profited from this video. Fuck you! Mind you, I only profited because I borrowed my sister's drawing tablet and I didn't buy it, plus Krita's free. So I am $5 richer than I was 4 months ago, and yes, those are unprecedented profit margins. Get bitched! Oh, quickly, editing Tony here. It is actually 5:10 p.m. the day this video drops. I actually got 3 pieces of fan art of Brian the Lizard. I almost forgot to add this in. So on the last day of the experiment, Dova gifted me this fan art and I love this so much. Dude, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. He looks like a goober. Then Sorexa, who doesn't even draw furry art like that. Brian the Lizard got them out of an art block and we've been saying Brian heals all the entire making of this video since then. It's been really funny. And also, I spoke to Kazu again because Kazu wanted to see all my art. I showed it to them and then he said that, oh my god, I love Brian. I'm gonna draw fan art when I get home. And I'm like, haha, okay, that's cool. Like thinking like he probably won't do it. And then 2 days later, he sends this. What the hell, man? So shout out furries. So now that we're finally at the end of this huge monstrous video that I've been teasing for about 6 months now, what can I take away from this? Well, I've learned even more so than I already believed that making good furry art is difficult. Not only that, drawing in general is difficult. In fact, drawing is one of the skills I've wanted to have in my entire life, but I've never had the patience to really pursue learning. This is frustrating me because I've taught myself video editing, I've taught myself music production, I've been learning Spanish for about a year now. I have the drive and discipline to learn these things, but I can't get it to translate into the medium of drawing. I believe it's something about art being such a visual medium at its core that takes real time to make something of high quality and of high standard. And not being able to produce something to that standard for at least a year really deters me from wanting to set all my time to it. I think that's why I committed so hard to doing this video in the experiment phase. I finally had a reason to learn. I finally had an incentive. And the most important aspect, I thought it was funny. So even though my artwork still isn't anything to really scoff at, I am genuinely really proud of myself for what I was able to do here. You can see a genuine layer of progression and me getting better at art each day. I've also learned, even more so than I already believed, that furries are severely overhated. Almost every single furry I talked to during the making of this video has been nothing but extremely kind, understanding, and supportive to me. Sure, some of them might make explicit art, and there might be some people in the community who'll spend 100 grand on people f***ing buildings. I'm still not over that. But what community isn't without its extremes? I also know in the comments there's gonna be some 14-year-old edgelords in the comments of this video saying that they hate furries and that they should all eat dirt and die. If you take anything away from this video, take how people react to furries as a litmus test. If they're extremely against it, they are most likely racist. If they are extremely for it, they are either insane or very, very cuddly. There's no in between. There's no in between. And if they're kind of in the middle or indifferent, they're probably chill. So after 4 months of practicing and releasing art to the public, I can now say officially to the question, how much money can you make from furry art? If you have an established audience, a consistent output, and quality art, you can probably make quite a bit. But if you're completely new to the whole art world with no connections and are trying to make furry art with the sole purpose of making a ton of money, you are going to be so disappointed. But hey, maybe you get lucky like I did and you walk away with a crisp $5 bill, which means I made $1.25 per month. So dinner's on me, bitches. Oh my God, we're finally to the end. But before you go, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to help me in my quest to go from underrated to just rated. And don't forget to politely press that like button, as it's been obliterated too many times. There will be some videos that pop up by my head, because if you like this one, you'll certainly like a lot of the other ones. And also, I'm going to be posting a lot more consistently this year, where I'm going to be posting on the first Friday of every month. And if I post this on April 5th, that means I actually did it, which means hopefully you'll see me in May. If not, I am in college. So until then, I'm going to go take a long nap. Until I get back, Kevin's in charge. Kevin!
I don't know what a fursona is, but all I know is I have a new pet named Banana.
So it's June 8th. I think I'm going to get death threats.
Let me tell you a story about how insane TikTok is. Two different people can have the same app, but yet have completely different homepages. You may see dancing videos, you may see music covers, you may see the best cover arts ever made. Whatever it is, we all see something different. However, something that unites all of TikTok is rage. Some random guy said the most racist thing you'll ever hear in your life, people will call him out. Some guy made a hilariously tone-deaf song about children being murdered in their schools. That happened 3 weeks ago, and I still see people dunking on him to this day, including me. Or someone just made some frankly cringy content. TikTok will come out in spades to make videos joking about the bad content, or even the person themselves.
You know that thing where people light themselves on fire in protest? I'm gonna find this guy and do that in front of him.
Now this happens frequently to a group of online content creators known as PNG tubers, meaning a video creator who uses a PNG of a character to identify themselves online. This label can apply to content creators like Jellybean, FrostFox, Red Velvety, or maybe more broadly to content creators like Dream, Corpse, and Blackie Speaks. Those last three might not fit in this label in the traditional sense, but I'd argue if one solo image is how you can identify them and they don't show their face, I think they fall under this category. Back to what I was on about. Jellybean is a PNG tuber who has faced a lot of criticism from the internet. People have called it very cringe, some of her jokes don't land, and really just the style of content rubs some people off the wrong way. This has led to a whole genre of hate towards their content. I'd argue the most prolific is this skeleton meme, with these skeletons basically cutting off everything they say to just make a joke, mostly POV, fatherless. I'm not exaggerating, that's how most of them go. And then TikTok started making fun of the people who made those videos.
Do you prefer chocolate pizza or jelly bean pizza? Jelly bean?
Now, whatever your opinion is on Jellybean's content, or even the PNG tuber community as a whole, is irrelevant. Because no matter how bad you think their content is, and how you keep saying nothing can be worse than that, I made worse. This is the story of how I became a PNG tuber. So here's my goal. Over the course of 2 weeks, I'm going to become the world's worst PNG tuber, and my goal is to either get this account to 5,000 followers, get one video to 50,000 views, or receive death threats. Yes, that's a legitimate completion goal. I'm going to be releasing the videos on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram Reels, all in which to see which one breeds the most hate and vitriol, and also which one is the best one to upload your content to. I'm going to be making 7 videos with all of them engineered to be as cringy as possible, as rage-inducing as possible, and as truly terrible as they all possibly can be. But before I make these videos, how am I going to sound? But before I can make these videos, Cyanide's Mac and Cheese Party 2 is happening July 21st, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's an hour-and-a-half live stream where we all eat mac and cheese, and we celebrate the release of my album coming out July 22nd. You can pre-save it by the first link in the description. It's going to be a great time. Everyone stop on by. But enough about that. How am I going to sound in this experiment? So my original plan was that I was going to pitch up my voice because I've done that before and I know how to do format shifting.
Every day I sink deeper into my abyss.
The problem is...
All right, I'm all done. Oh yeah, so Gadget, if you're still there, let me know what you think.
Personality was not hitting right, so I decided,
Yeah, actually, you're gonna be surprised, but this is my first time drawing Chris from Deltarune.
So after neither of my two options worked, which made me want to cry, I decided
Yeah,
to try
thank
to
you,
do
Speed.
something I saw Corridor Digital doing on their own channel. They were playing with this voice deepfake software. Essentially, what this means is that you would speak a sentence, and then a celebrity's voice would dub over.
But let me see if I can send a message to Gadget real quick.
Terrifying. So I tried signing up for this program so I could use it, and I think Past Me describes it pretty well.
I looked at the pricing plans and oh my god.
So I was really stressed about what I was going to do because pitching up didn't sound good, pitching down didn't sound good, and I couldn't even do an AI deepfake because I don't have that money. I'm in Ohio. So I was extremely stressed about what I was going to do, but then I realized my ace in the hole. I'm not famous at all.
Let me see.
I can just use my normal voice and dialect to get away with this.
Yeah, I just gotta get rid of the references, merge the layers together.
I found out that pitching it down a little bit doesn't sound too bad. So we finally have my voice. And I'm glad it worked, although for the first month I was working on this, I literally could not listen to the videos without tearing up, which is what I do when I'm extremely embarrassed. So there's that. So it's now the most important part of this preparation phase. What is my PNG tuber going to look like? Luckily for me, I have the perfect design for this experiment, and that's a character from one of my D&D campaigns. He's this gray bird named Mercury, and he looks cool, so I figured if it ain't broke. So now that I have my character, who am I going to commission? I considered some of my art friends at the time, but however, this was a surprise character for a campaign we were all in together, so I scratched them off the list. I also considered my good friend Serexa, who does all my album
Oh,
art,
awesome.
However, they drew
Yeah,
the
thank you so much, Gadget. Yeah, so I'm gonna send a sketch over to you in a few minutes.
And out of immediate options, I turned to commissioning someone random. So I went scouring through the internet, and I remembered this TikTok I got on my For You page when I first
Yeah, thank you, Dabo Darius.
I liked one FNAF
Yeah, thank you,
post,
Mew.
and the algorithm was like, this guy only likes FNAF. So after seeing that TikTok again, I went to their Insta and realized they had commissions open, which was perfect. And I reached out to them with my insane idea. I really gave her an Arby's Meat Mountain of a Google Doc that covered every inch of this batshit idea, and luckily for me, she said yes. And after 2 days, they finished all the images and made them so good that I still can't forgive myself for what I'm about to do to all these images. So I'd just like to give a big thank you to Allison, and I'd also like to give a big apology for how I'm ruining your art. So now that I've got the images, it's time to start conceiving the worst possible TikToks. So I started brainstorming some ideas for what I could cover and what tropes of the genre I should hit on. Now I had these 5 video topic ideas that I wanted to implement. I unfortunately didn't do the last 2, even though they would be objectively hilarious. And while reading your comments is a staple of this genre, I didn't want to do it because I wanted to separate myself from the pack. I also forgot. So I decided upon AI-generated pickup lines, Minecraft hardcore, and getting every single fact about a video game wrong. So in April, I started making the first 2 videos, and I have never fought harder in my life to continue doing something. Purposely putting all my skills and energy as a video editor into the worst possible thing ever was draining, but also so worth it. So the first video I finished was AI-generated pickup lines, and I'll let you be the judge of how good it is.
So if you don't know, I'm a programmer, and I love playing with AI, especially AI-generated stuff. And I thought it'd be fun to AI generate some pickup lines. Here's what I came up with. Are you from Tennessee? Because I've been living here for 15 years.
What'd you think? You didn't like it? But I worked so hard on it! So that's a truly awful video, and I'm so proud of it. So it's time to move on to the next one. Minecraft Hardcore was a special video for me because I got my roommate Owen to voice act in it as a guy who loses his Minecraft Hardcore world live on stream. Owen's playing a streamer named Zoo Society, and that streamer literally doesn't exist. It was just 2 words on Owen's hoodie that I mashed up together. Despite the man he was portraying literally not existing, he put his all into this character. Just look at him go.
This lava pool here. Fuck. Fuck, dude, what the fuck? Oh, shit. Damn, bro.
That's gotta be worth at least 1 Emmy. So having these 2 videos finished really set in stone how awful of an idea this was, but that did not matter to me. I was having so much fun making these. And now for the meat and potatoes of this account. The video game facts. None of them are interesting. Some of them aren't even true. My account is literally going to be the definition of misinformation. Also point out why some of these scripts and facts are so outlandish.
The creator of Five Nights at Freddy's, Scott Cawthon, started making the game because he was working as a police officer and needed something to do during the day.
That's because I didn't write them. AI did. I used a program called Novel AI, which is an AI text generating program that generates like fantasy stories. It's used for stuff like Dungeons and Dragons, fantasy stuff, and what I used to do my mandatory discussion boards in my English class at college. So how I would write one of these videos is I would start off with a paragraph intro that would really introduce the AI of what I was trying to hit on. Hey, editing Tony here to leave a note. Every single one of these video game fact videos would start with this horrible soundbite that my sister recorded.
Let me know which one shocked you the most.
I didn't know that.
I'm not exaggerating. Almost all of them start with this. Anyways, I'll let previous Tony continue. And then I would let AI run wild with the facts. And then at the very end, I would come up with a very short conclusion to wrap it all up. Wash, rinse, repeat for all videos. So as I was working on these videos, I wanted to get a few second opinions. So I made sure to show them to all my friends.
I've edited one of these videos and I'm going to show Owen, who's leaving for Atlanta. You have anything to say to Atlanta? Hey. He's shy. You guys excited?
Yeah.
So if you don't know, I'm a programmer and I love playing with AI, especially AI generated stuff. We're second to none. Love y'all, stay positive. He'll bring his own charm. Darth Maul to Darth Sidious. And then it seemed
He lost it all.
There's like no content.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just saying things for the sake of saying.
Angie, what did you think of the TikToks?
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Out of 10?
Alright, so let me just move on to round number 2. But first, let me just bring back the rules and the wheel.
So it's safe to say they all loved it. So after getting a few more of these videos finished, I had 7
So I just gotta remove Gadget from the wheel since he already won. And I just gotta check and verify that the other participants are still here.
I decided on dropping the video game facts videos on days 1, 3, 5, and 7, and the other 3 miscellaneous videos on alternating days 2, 4, and 6.
Alright, that's good to know, Darius. And thank you so much for commenting that.
Stupid viral on TikTok. Now, despite my optimism, I still had what I was calling Plan B in case for whatever reason.
Alright, let's see here.
Plan B?
So I don't see Carter. That boy Darius is still here. But Milk Cannon is here. That's good.
That terrible piece of advice out of the way. Let's get into
Alright, so I'm just gonna remove Carter temporarily.
So I started this experiment off in high spirits and had my 7 videos set.
Alright, so it looks like it's gonna be between the two of you.
And was ready to count my hundreds of views. And I waited. And I kept waiting. And I waited some more, and I was feeling very confused because even my first TikTok on my own account, I got at least 100 views. I know the way to post to make sure it hits. Why is it not working? And then I remembered something that my roommate John brought up to me once, which is that if you make an account on TikTok and then don't upload for a certain threshold, the app marks you as a viewer instead of a content creator.
Yep,
It doesn't
fingers
recommend
crossed.
anything you push out. Now this could be complete lies, but I wasn't about to fact check. It was working, and I was like, oh yeah, that's why I have
Alright,
0
so
views.
Milk and Darius, are you two ready?
The end of June. So I just deleted the account and said goodbye to Mercury and became Mercury Theory. So I was like, okay, finally the video will do better, right? Wrong. The video wasn't being pushed out at all. And I was like, that's weird. I literally just made the account. It should at least push it out
Alright,
to like
awesome.
5 viewers, right? So I was making all these videos as long facts, which are over a minute long, and I get why someone's attention span wouldn't
Alright,
stick
so as
around for the
always,
full
clicking
thing.
on the
So I was
wheel
like,
in
okay, I'll
3,
just make something
2,
called one fact.
1, and let's go.
Example of one.
Did you know that in Minecraft you can theoretically beat the entire game from just
Alright, so who's it gonna be this time? Is it gonna be Darius or Milk?
That was it. I can already hear the outrage. So I proceeded to make 10 more.
But yeah, it's been a while since I've seen like 2 participants on a wheel.
Zelda, the main character actually isn't named Zelda. It's actually a guy named
Oh.
Link.
I didn't know that.
Oh. Alright, it looks like it's Milk's lucky day.
This is fake immediately. The standards for PNG tubers are so low. So these short form
Yep,
videos will
there we have it.
surely do better,
So the
right?
second winner is Milk Cannon 8K. Yeah, congrats, man. Yeah, so it looks like you finally got a win.
From me and my sister, and she made an account just to like it, and then she deleted the app altogether. So because I wasn't about to have
Oh yeah, don't worry, Darius. I am gonna be doing one more sketch request, the third spin. So if Carter does not come back, I guess
So
the
after
when
asking
can
very suspiciously
automatically
on my
go to
Discord
you.
server if anyone wanted to help out with a video, I let them all in on my little plan.
Ignore the thing in the top left. This is
Oh,
a
and of
very
course,
good
let me just
business
put this in the
meeting.
comments.
We've
I
actually
mean, sorry,
had
in
a
the chat.
break in the experiment
So
because we have
congrats
one video with 256
to
views.
the
That's not
second
what I expected, though. We need more. So I'm
winner
totally not staging
at
a coup.
Milk
Everyone say
Cannon.
hi.
Hello.
Basically, what I'm doing is I'm telling them to share the videos with their friends, and under the guise of I found this on my For You page, and this is the worst thing I've ever
And
seen, which will
sent.
spark outrage in their friends. Then those friends will share it to their friends, and then the algorithm will wake up and push my videos out there.
Oh no, Tony, but you're gonna ruin the scientific data by artificially increasing interaction, which is gonna skew the results in your favorite conclusion.
Okay, Mr. Scientist. My reasoning for allowing this is that it's my
Oh yeah, so I'm just gonna get up from my chair and just do a little bit of walking. But I'll be. Oh, sorry, I was just stuttering back there. But yeah, so what I was trying to say is that I'm gonna be right back in about 5 minutes.
But there are a few weird ones that don't really fit the aesthetic.
First of all, one of your facts that you list isn't even a fact. It's completely subjective if you think the characters are cute or not.
I set my sleeper agents off to do their missions. So after a day went by, the responses I was seeing from the sleeper agents' friends were hilarious to me. This person said they hate me. This
Yeah,
person
thank you,
blocked
Milk.
me, claiming
Oh,
that
and of
the
course,
content
in the
was
meantime,
annoying, green on
just
good
make sure
shit.
to
Even
grab your
Jack from the
idea
5
and your
Minute Podcast
references.
got bamboozled by our mutual friend Brett when he sent this with the caption, "Fun facts," to which Jack responded, "They aren't fun." Other than that, day 3 has been significantly better for the experiment because of the coup. I mean, plan B. Plan B. I'll just let previous Tony explain it.
So it is halfway through day 3, and we have a break in the case. However, I uploaded like an hour or 2 ago my Legend of Zelda fact. That has actually done pretty alright. It's at 617 views, so we're getting there. 25 likes and 6 comments. Everyone else is like, is this a joke? Bro, wow, really 4 flushed emojis. This has to be bait or something. And Zelda is a boy and you play as him, so we're already doing a little better.
Guys, alert, alert, we have a break in the case. A VTuber with 20k followers followed me, and they even commented saying I have pretty good videos. I still don't know if that's satire, but I didn't want to freak out too much and break character, so I just responded how I think Mercury would. Cheers! Do you know how British people talk? So as week 1 progressed and I realized that the results were not that impressive, everyone kept saying that YouTube Shorts was probably the way to go with these. I admittedly thought TikTok was going to be the best because I sincerely believe that the TikTok algorithm could get any content out there to the right audience. It's not like we had nothing though. The FNAF 1 fact I made had 7,000 views, which is pretty good. Nowhere near 50,000 though. But there's one day left in this experiment and let's see what happens. Well, if the last day of the TikTok side of this wasn't explosive, I just posted a TikTok last night that got 600,000 views, which is insane. That's huge. It's getting so many likes, so many comments. The problem is I uploaded that on my own TikTok, not the one for this experiment. I literally proved I can go viral on the wrong account. So we've officially hit the end of week 1 and the results are uneventful. But hey, we still have 1 week left in this experiment. Let's see if week 2 is any better. Now, YouTube Shorts started off immediately better because I could schedule all the videos in advance. So the first day I just scheduled all the videos to come out. It was great. I re-edited some of the longer ones because YouTube Shorts can be a max 60 seconds. So I only had to worry about documenting the results, which is pretty great. Unlike Instagram Reels, which is the worst thing I've ever had to deal with in my entire life, and I had to watch my 18-year-old cat eat herself in the last year of her life. I would rather watch that again. Instagram Reels is a frustrating product that I hate with every fiber of my being. Because you can't upload Reels from desktop, you have to upload it from your phone. That wouldn't be too bad if I was doing simple videos, but no, I edited these on my laptop and I needed to transfer them. Bad news for me because I have a Lenovo Legion laptop and an iPhone, and I swear to God, these two got divorced because they don't want to talk to each other. So wanting to avoid that headache, I tried a post Reels to desktop extender for Chrome, but it had the audacity to only offer me 2 free Reels before I had to pay $9.99 a month to get unlimited free Reels. Who the fuck do you think you are? It doesn't even work. So I had to do Google Drive. So once you get your footage onto your phone, good luck with that because Reels will sometimes refuse to upload your videos. I swear to God, it took me 2 hours to get the Elden Ring TikTok up. And this is how it finally posted.
Elden Ring is an expansive and beautiful addition to the dock. Elden Ring is an expansive and beautiful addition to the dock. I'm not even kidding. It turned my 1 minute and 40-second video into a 2.5-second video that's corrupted.
So I hate Reels enough to the point that I literally just skipped days of uploading because I did not want to deal with it. Not to mention, no one was watching these videos, so the effort wasn't even worth it. Oh no, that's a bit of a lie. The videos had 5 views from my mom and my sister. Shout out them, they're the real heroes of this experiment. Not to mention, YouTube Shorts was doing significantly better. I actually think it was a great double-edged sword because YouTube Shorts was being recommended to PNG Tuber haters left and right who were leaving comments on it, and then that led to PNG Tuber defenders all being in the comments trying to defend me, even responding to the haters. It was great. Both sides were in a never-ending battle, and I was not responding to any of them because I thought it was even funnier to do that. And it was also important to note that both sides have the worst spelling mistakes possible. Someone wrote a very beautiful and prophetic comment, which is, oh, well, would you look at that? Another PNG tuber getting a reply.
Yeah, I'm still gonna wait on for Milk to send me his idea and his references.
At least I'm not this. I knew that a year ago. They had 6 words and they misspelled 2 of them. Bruh, did you just say, did you know in Fortnights of Freddy's?
Did you know that in Five Nights at Freddy's?
Oh wow, it's not like everyone played the fucking game already and knew. And then on the Red Dead Redemption 2 fact, which is one of my favorite videos, I'll play it right now.
Did you know that in Red Dead Redemption 2, Arthur Morgan is actually based off of Teddy Roosevelt, due to them both being good horseback riders and existing around the same era?
I didn't know that.
That is just not even remotely true, by the way. Squeaky ass, goofy, PNG tuber, go make good content. What part of my voice is squeaky? I won't deny I'm goofy, Bro, skull emoji. How many people were good horseback rider and lived from the end of the 19th century to the start of the 20th century? Arthur Morgan and Teddy Roosevelt, of course. Come on. Someone just wrote on the, did you know this about Elden Ring fact? Cool. And then they went to the Undertale fact and wrote, no, that's crazy. And then everyone started tagging this YouTuber named Vince Ka, who seems to be the villain of the PNG tuber community, except his superpower seems to be making 1,000 daily videos on Jelly Bean. For the first few videos, my sister and my mom were blending in as the comments trying to spark engagement, and no one was joining them. However, my favorite comment that either of them left was, super cool. Robin Williams loved this game. And I just responded, truly magnificent. And my sister writes, wait, you're telling me I played all of Breath of the Wild and had all the main characters' names mixed up? That's gotta be a feat. And then I made the Harry Styles one, and that finally got some interaction. Comments like, didn't ask. I didn't know Harry was a twin. 2 skull emojis. Are you a real bird? Furry. None of these facts are even slightly interesting. And you're a PNG tuber, so I hate you. Alex writes, they're called creepers, not creepiest, you absolute troglodyte. And then my favorite interaction ever comes here. Chicago Kathy writes, ugh, another PNG tuber. Ugh, another sad loser that has no reason to hate on people only because he has self-doubt about their own life and problems. Worry about yourself before others. And then Kathy claps back with, oh, so you go after me, but not the person that called them a troglodyte. Real good judgment there, buddy. Go after the one that's objectively causing less harm in the situation. Also, sad, loser, really? Kindergartners can probably come up with better insults that would hurt more than sad loser. And I get that I played right into your little mind game. That's all you wanted, right? A response. You wanted to see me get mad. Well, I can say that I'm not mad, but instead, I'm disappointed. Disappointed that you think I'm a disappointed that you think I'm a sad loser when you're the one butting into another's thoughts when you have no reason to. I don't like PNG tubers. A whole bunch of people don't like PNG tubers, so clearly, I'm not alone. And then the original person responds back, lol. Finally on this video though, July 4th, we officially succeeded at the experiment. Oh, why did I pass on July 4th? Did I hit 5,000 followers? No, my Instagram account still has 27 and no signs of moving forward. Did I hit 50,000 views? My video hit the algorithm, right? No. My video hit 6,000. So if I didn't hit either of those 2 requirements, how did I succeed at the challenge? This comment right here. Let's go! likes! I got a death threat! I got someone telling me to kill myself! Let's go! You have no idea how happy I was to see that comment in my inbox, because that means I succeeded at this experiment 2 days before the deadline, July 6th. I have never been more excited in my life to see a comment like this. I also learned that Instagram Reels is a completely different breed when it comes to hatred, and I also hate Reels with a burning passion. Every video on there sucks. They all suck. Every single one of them, they're all terrible. So now that we've hit the end of this experiment, it's time to tally up our data and see which platform is the best for generating hate, and also which one is the best one for you to upload on. All right, it's time to tally up the results from the 3 different apps and see which one is the best. So starting off with the week of June 22nd to 28th, TikTok, the max followers I hit was 155, and the videos with the highest amount of views ended up with 8,555 views, and a total number of likes, 1,328 over the entire project. That's not too bad for my very first week. However, what was bad for my very first week is that only 2 videos surpassed 1,000 views out of the 18 I posted. 2 out of 18. That is a terrible number. That is 11% of videos only hitting that, which when you put it that way, it's not terrible. It's not great. And the video that had the most interaction was the Zelda TikTok. Moving on to the second week, which is Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. We're going to start off with Instagram Reels. So Instagram Reels performed the worst in a few categories, but didn't perform terribly in all of them. Like followers was easily the worst, with ending off with 27. It's currently down to 26, but I'm just rounded it up to 27 because both numbers are terrible. The video with the highest amount of views ended up with 6,169 views. Nice. And the total number of likes I got over the entire project was 537. That might sound terrible, but I only uploaded 9 videos to this app instead of 18. So if we do theoretical probability of timesing that by 2, I have a theoretical number of 1,074 likes. Still not perfect, but at least it's 4 digits. However, out of the 9 videos I posted, 5 of them hit
Oh yeah, no, that's just a random doodle. Yeah, so that's not the actual second sketch request. Yeah, just a random drawing.
And then finally, YouTube Shorts. While it only has
And I think it's supposed to be Squidward or something, but like I said before, it's just meant to be random.
After a week of posting, I ended up with 119 subscribers, which is honestly not too bad. My highest viewed video had 3,046 views. While that may sound bad and is technically the worst performing out of the 3 apps, I would argue that's honestly pretty good, because out of the 18 videos I posted, 12 of them hit over 1,000 views. So even though I might not get like videos with like 6,000, 8,000, I would rather take this because I'm consistently getting 2,000, 3,000 easy. I would wholeheartedly trust that statistic more than one video that performed well and then everything else has under 100 views. And then the total number of likes YouTube Studio told me I had was 944. I don't know if that includes dislikes, which I got a lot of, but if YouTube did the number right, 944, very close to 1,000, that's pretty good. And then the video most interacted with was the Zelda TikTok. So what is my final conclusion with the data I've gathered? I rambled with an actual conclusion for too long, so I'll just summarize and say that the week I dedicated to each platform is just 1 week out of 52 possible ones. Just because this worked here and the other didn't work there doesn't speak for if I did this experiment for a full month or even a year. Despite that, I am still impressed by my findings and the fact that TikTok didn't completely run away with this experiment. And one last thing I will add at the end of this dumb little experiment that has taken 3 months of my life to complete is that if you have ever wanted to do something but have felt scared, nervous, or even unsure if you should do it, just do it. You have literally nothing to lose by starting, because if you don't start it, you will never know what could have been, and even if it doesn't work out, at least you did it. That's why I became a PNG tuber, because if I didn't do it, who the hell else would? Because this was such a dumb experiment to do. Oh my god. Before I wrap this video up, I do have an album coming out July 22nd. You can pre-save it, link at the top of the description. If you want a little teaser, here's every song played at once. Thank you. I have a live stream coming up called Cyanide's Mac and Cheese Party 2. It's going to be the sequel to the first Mac and Cheese Party, which was so much fun. You can also join in on the fun by submitting a video of yourself with the hashtag Cyanide Mac and Cheese Party. If you're wondering how to submit, there's some rules on screen, but too long didn't read. Film yourself saying the hashtag or have it big on screen, and make sure mac and cheese is prevalent at least somewhat in your submission. I'll compile the best ones into a segment during the live stream, and make sure to be there July 21st, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And now for the people who have somehow stuck around, thank you so much. Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, help me on my
You love art, you want to get better, and yet somehow, whenever you sit down to start drawing, you last about 15 minutes before you're back on your phone scrolling through the exact art you wish you could make. And most likely it's not that you're lazy or that you don't care. Your brain is working exactly how it's supposed to. It's just that it's been trained to want the wrong things. So today I'm going to explain what's happening in your brain with science. I'll share what I've figured out that's helped me essentially stop having to force myself to draw. Because despite doing this for a living, that's often been the case. So what allowed me basically to turn it into something that I genuinely crave. Let's get right into it. Now, before I show you how to actually get addicted to drawing, here's what's going on up here. So your brain runs on a chemical called dopamine. You've probably heard of it, but most people misunderstand what it does. Dopamine isn't what's often referred to as like the pleasure chemical. It's more like the wanting chemical. It's what makes you feel motivated to do something. You know, that kind of pull that you get towards an activity that you really enjoy. And what's important to understand is that your brain has a baseline level of dopamine, like a resting point. So when you do something that's stimulating, your dopamine shoots up, you know, above normal levels, but your brain always wants to balance things out. So what happens after a spike in dopamine? Well, the dopamine shoots down below baseline to balance things out until it goes back to baseline. And it's really that dip, you know, that makes you feel kind of restless, bored, even like unmotivated. So you always get a high where you feel really good, followed by a low where you don't feel that good. And this is well documented in neuroscience. Dr. Anna Lemke, a psychiatrist at Stanford who runs their addiction medicine program, describes it as a pleasure-pain balance. And here's where it gets kind of bad for us. Like if you keep spiking your dopamine levels with really easy entertainment, like high stimulation activities. I think you know where I'm going with this. Basically, most things that you find on here. Well, your brain doesn't just drop below baseline temporarily. Overdoing it actually lowers your baseline long term. So now your resting state, the way that you feel, you know, without doing anything in particular, is lower, is worse than what it was before. And as a result, you need more stimulation to feel somewhat normal. But if you think about it, that probably sounds familiar, right? Like before you sit down to draw, what do you do before? Right? You browse your phone a little bit, check your comments on social media, maybe game for a little bit. And all of this is flooding your brain with dopamine for an activity that basically took you no effort. Your brain is getting massive reward for something that's very not difficult at all. And then you switch to drawing, something that is slow, where progress is almost invisible in the moment. Like you're staring at a blank canvas and then your brain is just shouting at you, why are you putting yourself through all of this pain when you could just enjoy a little bit of easy entertainment? Feel better, get that dopamine, bro. Get it. Get it, it's easy. That's not really a fair fight, is it? Your phone delivers guaranteed dopamine in seconds. Meanwhile, having to draw requires you to sit down for like an hour or more to get just even a fraction of that same reward. And your brain, unfortunately, is going to pick the phone every single time unless you change that equation. And that's why willpower alone doesn't really work. It's not really a motivation problem that you have. It's more of a brain chemistry problem. Your brain sensitivity has been so dulled by all of this easy dopamine that a more modest reward like drawing just doesn't register anymore, or barely. So your brain's cooked. Well, what do you do about it? How can you fix this? Well, it's actually very simple. You just reset your sensitivity. You have to stop feeding your brain with easy dopamine so that it can kind of recalibrate back to a normal baseline of dopamine. And well, the good news is that this doesn't take that long. Research actually shows that your brain starts to respond to lower levels of stimulation within just a couple of days. And most people actually reports a significant difference, like a significant improvement within a week or two at most. Dr. Anna Lemke actually recommends a 4-week period for a complete reset, but very important asterisk here is that this is for actual addiction, like clinical addiction cases. So for everyday like social media and phone use, the actual time it takes is much lower. And if you ever try this, you know, like you'll see the first couple of days are the hardest because your brain is really fighting you, but it's that discomfort that it's basically your confirmation, the recalibration is in process. So the first and most important things is to stop starting your day with dopamine spikes. Like this was the biggest change that I made. Like the first thing I changed was to stop looking at my phone the second I wake up in the morning. And I'm sure you've heard this before. I heard it many times before I actually tried to do it. Because of course, you know, I would wake up, look at all my messages, my comments, my likes, you know, whatever, and then, oh, I feel good, full of dopamine, woo! And then by the time I'm ready to sit down and actually put in some work, I've already burned through a bunch of dopamine by that time, and everything all of a sudden just starts becoming like a chore. And I'm happy to report back that not touching my phone first thing in the morning actually works. Who would have thought? And it's not like I'm not touching my phone at all, right? Like, I just save it for after I'm done drawing if I'm planning to draw that day. And the logic is super simple. You know, if your brain hasn't been stimulated yet, sitting down to draw should actually feel like very engaging, because it's probably the most stimulating things you've done that day, so far at least. Now, the second thing that I would highly recommend is to create what I'm gonna call a friction gap between you and easy entertainment, like easy dopamine. So basically, you want to make the easy, like high stimulation stuff harder to access, while at the same time making drawing easier to access. So maybe a couple easy things you could try is to maybe have your phone charger in a different room. Maybe the room that's the farthest away from where you're actually drawing. While at the same time having maybe your tablet or your computer open at all times with your painting software loaded already, like just ready to go, you know? You think that you want to draw and it's ready, no friction. This kind of stuff might seem like it wouldn't work, but your brain is super lazy. So whatever feels the easiest to access, it's just gonna try and do that. Another thing you could do is to maybe have a sketch pad and a pencil right at your breakfast table. So when you sit down, well, it's right there, right? You don't need to go anywhere. If you feel like drawing, well, you can start drawing. So again, remove friction for things that you want to do and increase friction for stuff that it's not so good. And the more you do this, the better things get, like relatively quickly. Drawing actually starts to create its own dopamine through what you've probably heard before about the flow states. It's, you know, when you feel like you're really locked in. That's your brain's dopamine and norepinephrine systems basically firing together because you're fully engaged in a challenging task that actually matches your skill level. Flow is your brain's natural reward basically for engaging in something that's hard but meaningful. But of course, you can only access this consistently if your baseline is not already jacked up by like really easy entertainment. Now, of course, this is also where having the right material to work with makes a real difference. Like if you sit down to draw and you don't really know where you are in your own development or what you should be working on next, well, it's much harder to get into that flow. In that case, the challenge won't match your skill level and everything will feel more like directionless, which oftentimes your brain will just read as, well, not worth the effort. And guess what? The sponsor of this video helps with that. My complete art education program, Art School for Digital Artists, solves all of these problems. Aside from containing classes that you would basically need to draw anything your mind can imagine, like all topics of arts, it also comes with a week-by-week study guide. Everything is basically spoon-fed to you week by week so that your progress is maximized, and then you can instead focus entirely on the fun part, which is creating art, knowing that you're going in the right direction. We have over 31,000 artists in the program already, so you should definitely check it out with the link down in the video description. And also, by the way, we're just starting the big spring sale where you'll be able to get a massive discount on the entire program. Like I said, check it out down in the video description for all the details. And for all of you existing students watching, well, thank you so much. I love you. And now let me give you a couple more practical things to really get addicted to drawing. So the third thing is to use the Zeigarnik effect to your advantage. Zeigarnik? What, bro? This is a finding in psychology that explains basically that your brain obsesses over things that are unfinished, way more than when things are complete. And you can exploit this. So when you stop a drawing session, I would highly recommend that you stop in the middle of something fun, right? So when you're having fun, it's the best time to stand up and walk away from it. Like, don't wait until you're done, or don't wait until you hit something where you're frustrated and you're like, I can't do it anymore. Screw this. This would actually do the complete opposite of what you want, essentially attaching a sense of frustration with your work environment. So instead, when you feel like you're having fun, like you're in the middle of a drawing, like maybe in the middle of rendering something, walk away from it. And of course, it's something that they use all the time in like shows with cliffhangers at the end, right? Like, you're in the middle of something exciting and then, whoop, no more. Well, now you're basically hooked. You want to come back next time to know what happens. That's the Zeigarnik effect. So start using that to your advantage with your art. Leave things unfinished when you're having a good time. You'll see just how powerful this becomes. Now, the fourth thing is to protect the dopamine that you're getting from drawing. Now, this is something that most of you are actually not doing, I'm sure, just like I wasn't doing this for a long time, where you finish a piece and then immediately you feel the need to post it online, right? To share it with people. Like maybe refreshing the page to see if you're getting some likes or if you're getting some comments. And what's happening here is basically you're taking all of that internal satisfaction of having finished a piece of art. You're essentially replacing it with an external source of dopamine that you really can control. Like if the post does really well, at least you have dopamine out of it. Makes you feel good. But that good feeling now is associated with the app itself, not really the act of finishing a drawing. See what I mean? And in the worst case, you get no interactions online whatsoever. So now you just feel miserable because you're like, oh, I was really happy to finish this drawing, but then I flipped this immediately into something where I'm disappointed because it's not getting the reception that I was hoping for. So my recommendation here is to always keep some portion of your work private. I've started to do this a couple of years ago where I personally keep about like 20% of what I create completely private. You know, in my sketchbooks back here, I'll never show them. And I think for me, it's been one of the best things that I've done, you know, to help my motivation. And it just helps me reconnect the drawings with this internal reward that I get rather than the external one, like the social media, you know? Now, the fifth thing, and this one might be a little bit counterintuitive, or maybe not, but it's to get comfortable with boredom. Hear me out. The reason your brain craves your phone so intensely is because you've trained it to be essentially never bored. You feel that time with stimulation. Over time, your brain just literally forgets what it's like to live without constant input. And this, of course, matters because boredom is basically your reset button. Like when you allow yourself to be bored, your dopamine essentially resets to a normal baseline. And Lemke recommends periods of understimulation for that exact reason. Like you don't need to go sit in a dark room and do nothing. Just don't pull out your phone every time you're just slightly bored. Like, we almost all forget about this, but it's normal to not have something to do at every moment of the day. Now, to be fair, this is going to be pretty uncomfortable at first. You're basically trying to recalibrate your brain into enjoying things that, you know, provides less stimulation, restoring your brain sensitivity to smaller rewards. But if you can do it, the bigger reward is that now drawing will feel like it's much more fun. It's much more engaging than it used to be. Now, the easy entertainment, sure, it's fun, but it's not helping your life, right? It's only draining time away from you. It's stealing your life, if anything. So personally, I think it'd be something that's worth trying. Give it a shot. Here's what happened when I put all of this together myself. I stopped starting my day with my phone in hand. I always keep my workplace ready to go, Photoshop open, computer on. I always make it a conscious thing where I'm drawing and I'm having fun to just cut the fun, walk away from it, go do something else. This activates the Zeigarnik effect. I also stop posting everything that I create and I let myself be bored more. And in my case, like all of those things I picked up a little bit over time. Like it's not like I started to do all of this all at once. As I learned, you know, I adopted new habits, and the change really is that now I always have a ton more motivation to paint, to draw. And it's no longer something I have to force myself to do like it used to be for so many years in my career. And to me, it's made drawing the most rewarding thing that I can do in a day. So that's the trick. You don't need more motivation. You just need less competitions for your brain's attention. And now, if you're in the mood to draw after all of this, well, you might want to check out last week's episode of YouTube Art School where we go over how to create a simple face. I show you exactly how I do it, my technique. So if you wanted to try and adopt a similar style, well, the video will be up on screen here in a second. I will see you over there, I hope. You're likely going to fail most of the art goals that you set for yourself this year. Not trying to be harsh, just realistic. 91% of people abandon their New Year's resolution by the end of January. So your goal of I'm going to draw every day, or I'm finally gonna get good at anatomy, statistically dead by the end of this month. But why? Why is committing to a goal so hard? What makes us give up? Well, in this week's episode of YouTube Art School, I'll try to explain why that happens and what are the 3 psychological switches that you need to flip to start making real, actual progress this year. You'll see it's actually nothing big, just a few mind tricks that you gotta start doing. Ones that will have a massive impact. So let's see what they are. So the first change is to stop hoping you'll succeed through willpower alone. Because really, willpower is like one-ply toilet paper. Unreliable when you need it the most. Because think about it, it's not your first new year. Like in the past, even when you were super motivated on January 1st, that feeling lasted what, like a week? 2 weeks? And then life happens. You know, you get busy, you get tired, you just kind of forget about it, and that initial excitement that you had just fades. And then suddenly, drawing feels more like a chore. Most goals require you to push yourself, you know, like to make room in your schedule, maybe say no to like fun things like playing video games, like watching or binging Netflix or some anime series, whatever. All of that takes willpower, and willpower kind of comes and goes. So what's the solution? You got to build a vision instead, because a simple goal like I want to become good at drawing, that's way too isolated. It has no context, really, and it's not compelling enough to pull you through all the really hard days where you're not gonna want to do those things. But a vision, on the other hand, a vision is magnetic. Like, here's the difference. Like, a goal is, I want to draw more. A vision, on the other hand, might be something like, I'm going to create a webcomic that my younger self would have really enjoyed, or maybe like my younger siblings. And by the end of this year, I'll have maybe a full chapter done, so like the 25 pages done. You feel that difference? In the first case, requires willpower to constantly push yourself to do the things that you should be doing. But the other goal, the vision, instead pulls you along. It's the same feeling really that you have when you start a relationship, that initial excitement that pulls you, that compels you to do a lot of things that are way out of character, perhaps. Or if you're just working towards a promotion at work, you know, suddenly when you see the carrot dangling in front of you, it's a lot more compelling to work to try to get it. The pull is automatic. The push requires constant effort. So for any goal that you set this year, spend real time building a compelling vision around it. Make it vivid. Make it very specific. Write it down and then put it somewhere that you'll always see. And if you can't build a strong vision around your goal, honestly, just drop it. It's clearly not important enough to achieve anyway. And failing at it will just make you feel like crap. All right, here's our second trick. Raise your standards. Your standards are what define you as a person. They define what you're capable of, but they can also limit you hard. And let me explain with an example. Like, let's say you define yourself as a serious artist, someone who's hungry to improve. Then sitting down for an hour or two a day to practice should feel relatively normal. It's just what you do. It's non-negotiable, right? Like when you don't do it, you'll feel kind of wrong, like you're not meeting your own standards, and that's not comfortable. But take somebody else now. That same 1 to 2 hours for them might feel like a chore, like torture even. Impossible, like something that would require massive willpower. So it's the same activity really, but people with two different standards. Now, for those of you who consider yourselves artists, but still feel like it's a struggle to put in the time, here's probably where you're messing up. There must be something in here that tells you, when you look at a skilled artist, it must be nice to be that good, but I'll never reach that level. It's just too far out of reach. And then you get demotivated, and then practicing starts to feel like a chore. And what's happening here is just your low standards talking, nothing else. Because if somebody with high standards believes something is within reach, working hard towards it feels pretty normal. It's like thinking, oh wow, I really want this, and deep down believing that you can because your standard's high enough. Like, it might be hard, of course, it might take years, but if that's how they define themselves, they'll make it happen. They'll find a way. And this is actually a deeply rooted human trait. Like, we'll do almost anything to meet our own standards. Like, think of people that lose their jobs. Usually they'll find a job that's either as good or better than what they had before, just because they can't possibly handle downgrading their standards of life, their professional standards, and it's just too uncomfortable. And here's the cool part. Your standards can change, and well, they change from within. So you're 100% in charge. And when you raise your standards and then you try to achieve them, eventually achieve them, that's happiness. It just makes us feel good. It's our brain's reward system. And meanwhile, stagnation just feels like misery. Like you're wasting your time, like it's not working. Why would you want to keep doing anything that makes you feel like that? So this year, raise your standards. Stop telling yourself you can't reach a certain level. Just start telling yourself you will. And the idea is that the more you tell yourself, the more you'll believe it. Shut down that inner voice that tells you that it's not possible. When you do, your standards will rise, your capabilities will follow. Even more so with the right kind of help. So if you feel ready to learn art seriously this year, or just ready to take your existing skills to the next level, there's no better way than with the right structure and the in-depth classes that come with my art program, Art School for Digital Artists, the sponsor of this video. The big holiday sale for my program might be over, but you'll still be able to pick it up at a significant discount for a little while longer. Check out all the details in the video description so you don't miss out on this, because the discount will further decrease every month moving forward, so you always get a better deal when you sign up early. You get lifetime access, private access to our Discord, and a helpful week-by-week study guide so you always know what you should be working on next. We've been going for over 8 years now, so this year, why not join the 30,000+ students already registered and find out what you've been missing out on? See you in class. And here's the final change. Change your habits. You meet your standards by performing a series of small habits throughout your day. Any single habit, by itself might seem insignificant, but when you add them all up, it's a completely different story. When people are successful, it's not luck, although sometimes it is to a certain extent, but continued success is because everything they do contributes to their standard of success. Like, think about this example. Like, imagine a fit person and an overweight person of exactly the same age, but they have completely different habits. Let's say all of a sudden they were able to swap their habits, like the same meals, the same activities daily. I think it's easy to imagine that their physical condition would start to converge until they become the opposite of what it was before. Like, their physiques wouldn't become exactly like the other person's, but very close. It's the same with artists. If you practice the same things a skilled artist practice in the same order, learning from similar sources, maintaining a similar routine, well, you would get similar results eventually. Maybe better, maybe slightly worse, but you'd be in the same ballpark. Like, my habits now are completely different from 15 years ago. As my standards increased, well, my habits also had to evolve. Nowadays, maybe I'll practice around like 10 to 15 hours a week in total, which is way less than what I used to do, especially when I was working at Blizzard, for example, working 10 to 6 every day. But now I observe constantly, something I didn't really used to do. I can't just see things anymore without breaking them down into their art fundamentals. It's like I have the art goggles on 24/7. And here are some of the more maybe relevant current habits that I have. I'll always plan my work days at least one day ahead, so I am on a mission as soon as I wake up the next day. Every morning I'll take time cooking myself a healthy breakfast. I'm almost 40, so I gotta put in more work to keep my body in good shape. Every day also I'll either run or work out in the middle of my workday without fail, and that just helps me to reinforce over and over that I can do things that are hard and uncomfortable. Then at most a few times a week, I'll do a little bit of gesture drawing just to keep the rust away. I'll also do quick sketches while I eat, and that usually I'll just toss in the trash because the XP really that I gain from those is what I think is important, not the result. And the result is never that good anyway. Another one I do every week is I'll study something from reference. Often it'll be something that I show on the weekly YouTube videos like this one here that I've been working on in the background. I'll always keep my phone on Do Not Disturb while I work. I also keep mental heavy work capped at like 30 minutes max before I take a break. Very similar to the Pomodoro method for studying. I also maintain a consistent sleep schedule every day now. That took me a while to get there, but I feel much better. And I think the most important habit that I have is that I practice active observation everywhere I go. My own habits work for me now, but yeah, your habits should match your goals, of course. Like, find some habits from artists that you admire. Very gradually, like, don't do this all at once and it won't happen, but gradually adopt those habits. Incremental change, not all at once. That's too hard. So here's your complete system for achieving your goals, your art goals in 2026. Stop relying on willpower, build a compelling vision instead. Raise your standard, stop limiting yourself, and then change your habits. Small actions compound into massive change. The new year is always a good time to reset, but honestly, it's always a good time to make a positive change. Like, even if you're watching this in June, but make those 3 changes. I guarantee that when January 1st, 2027 rolls around, you'll look back at today and be shocked by how far you've come. Prove to future you that present you can help them to succeed. And by the way, I was just talking about habits and how to form habits, and I actually have a class that I dedicated to this topic. And I think that would be very relevant to watch next, so it'll be up on screen here in just a second. Click on that and I'll see you over there.
Okay, I implore you all to ignore the messiness of my room and this workspace. Before I get this video started, of like just some time lapses of me working on the sprites for the Versus Sasha mod. I wanted to spotlight the tablet that I pretty much worked on the whole mod with, including a bunch of other mods, because I've had this for a while. So this here is a Gaomon tablet, specifically the model PD1320, I think that's what it is, yeah. They were kind enough to send me a gray one, I think. They wanted me to try it out and like tell y'all how I liked it. And after using it for like several months, it's been several months since they first gave it to me, and I've been having to delay it because I was like working on stuff, and I really haven't been able to do much YouTube. But this tablet's kind of awesome. I think there's definitely some bugs that I'm dealing with. Like, it works super smoothly with all the Adobe products that I use, but I swear sometimes I'll use like, I think I tried using Storyboard Pro and the sensitivity wasn't on. I don't exactly know why, but I think that's a problem on my end. So this here tablet has like a 13.3 work area. Along with that, it's like portable because, okay, the way that it's like, it's supposed to be that it doesn't have to be plugged into the wall. It can be plugged only directly into the computer and it will be powered by that. So if you needed to bring this and your laptop elsewhere, you take it on the go. Along with that, it has, and I only recently realized this, I had this for months and didn't notice, and now I feel really stupid, but it comes with this like cover thing that also can fold into a stand to hold up the tablet. What the fuck? So along with that, it has a batteryless tablet pen, which I have come to find out some tablets have battery-powered pens. I don't know why you'd want a battery-powered pen. The way they own an iPad, I know. Never mind. There's a few more other features that I really want to highlight. That like it has, I forgot. I think it's right here. There is an earphone jack. So if you wanted to work only through this, and you wanted to like plug in your headset, you can plug it in and listen to the audio as you're working. So if you're like an animator or something, that is pretty convenient. It also apparently connects to Android devices, which I don't own any Android devices, so I can't test this out. And I don't know if I'm keeping this in here, but like when they gave me a list of like things that the tablet can do, and one of them is that it can connect to a Switch. What? I don't even know how to try that out either, because I don't know in what way would this connect to a Switch. As of recording this, Prime Day should be today. I don't know if the video will be out on Prime Day, and if it's not, then I guess I'll have to cut this part out. But right now they are having a Prime Day sale where the price right now is $255. So if you are interested in getting a Gaomon tablet, like you have the money, you want to spend your money on something that can help you on Prime Day, there's links in the description to take you there. All right, that should be all, and now I shall take you into the time lapses for working on Friday Night Funkin' vs. Sasha sprites animations.
So, what makes a character design good? This design took more time, so it's good, and this is a simple design, so it's bad. Right?
Well, the answer is it's up to you. Character design is a subjective topic, meaning that it varies wildly from person to person or story to story.
Here at BAM, we would argue that good character design is about clarity. Clarity of silhouette, clarity of palette, and clarity of exaggeration.
A character design that's clear in these three principles will be recognizable in any art style.
BAM is the show where professional animation artists redraw the art that you send in. And if you like supporting that sort of thing, check out our Patreon linked below.
Let's start this off by creating an inherently bad character design. We'll begin with a messy silhouette, a confusing palette, and a bland generic everything else.
Wow, that stinks. Let's go ahead and completely cover this design in detail. That'll make it a nightmare to redraw again, and can you imagine those overseas animators actually trying to animate this?
Let's make sure all of these shapes have tangents too. No sense of 3D space whatsoever. And as a final touch, I'm never going to flip the canvas while I draw, so everything will lean awkwardly to one side. Perfect. All of these conflicting elements will confuse the viewer. They'll get caught up in this visual traffic and the story will disappear completely.
Good character design should be a seamless vehicle that drives the story forward, and everything about that character should be understood visually in 1 second or less.
Let's explore these three fundamentals and see if we can use them to create clear, readable characters that aid the story instead of hinder it.
When you strip down your character to just black, the rule is your character must be recognizable from that alone. There isn't a single famous character that doesn't follow this rule.
This submitted artwork is looking really good, but we can improve the design simply by examining the silhouette and separating some of these shapes.
Now that the shapes are clear in silhouette, they'll definitely be clear in full color.
All of the most iconic character designs have a silhouette that's made of big identifiable shapes. Big shapes are going to visually communicate the personality of the character using something called shape language.
Like, this is already giving you a sense of stability, trust, and stubbornness. And this shape here, friendly, bouncy, soft, welcoming, warm, and happy. And this shape has the sharpest corners of the three, implying things like edginess, danger, intensity, and speed. Even though this is a nice drawing, this artwork has a lot of conflicting shape ideas.
We can improve this design by making some of these shapes bigger and committing to the shape motif of a triangle.
When we choose a shape motif, it reduces clutter and emphasizes the things we want to emphasize.
I'm going to try and make every shape some type of triangle.
By committing to an angular shape language, this character will read immediately as a dangerous femme fatale.
You might think that big identifiable shapes can only work in cartoony art styles, but you'd be surprised how many more realistic art styles follow the same rule. Usually it occurs in the form of big clothing, hair, or weapons.
Another way to improve silhouette clarity is to take the character's head and add a little weird shape that is unique to only them.
This is a really useful design hack that helps identify them in a crowd and demonstrates the direction that they're facing.
Every character design works better if you can recognize them from just the silhouette.
Hands look bad? Improve the silhouette. Pose is whack? Improve the silhouette. Before you clean up your character, reduce it to just black and double check which shapes you can push to make it more iconic.
For clarity of palette, don't use too many colors. Be selective.
Choose a color hierarchy, meaning one color is the dominant one and the other colors should support it without competing. This fan-submitted artwork has a lot of competing colors. This blue and this turquoise are both cool colors. Without line art, how can I tell where the ear ends and the dress begins?
If we were to turn the dress into a warmer color, it becomes the dominant color that complements the blue instead of competing with it.
But wait, color is more complicated than that. What about value?
On a new layer, fill the entire canvas white and set the layer style to color. This way you can toggle the layer on and off to double check its value, which is basically the brightness of any given color.
Now we can see what the real issue is. This design is unclear because all the values are very similar. Let's select some of these shapes and hit Ctrl U to adjust the value of them.
An even more precise tool would be the color balance menu under Command B. This allows you to adjust the color on a more fine-tuned level.
If you have a background, check the colors against the environment. Don't just paint your characters on white. Characters rarely stand in a bright white room. If you don't have a background, do your design against a midtone. That way your lights and darks will actually stand off. In the original artwork, many of the values compete, and the character doesn't really stand off the background. By making the values of the objects in the distance lighter, we can establish atmospheric perspective. This will create more contrast between the foreground and the background. A value structure like this will make the foreground read clearer.
Character palette is similar to silhouette in that a well-designed palette is totally recognizable from rectangular swatches alone. The combination of a good silhouette and a good palette equals an extremely recognizable character.
The choices of your color palette are important as well. Certain colors evoke certain moods. The color language is telling us a lot about these characters. For example, we associate yellow with joy and happiness. Green is going to give you a feeling of safety, while red might feel dangerous and sexy. However, color language is not as clear as shape language. Yellow might give you a really happy feeling, like sunshine, or a really sick and diseased feeling, like jaundice.
If you take a look at the globe, countries closer to the equator are going to have more colorful clothing and artwork. while countries closer to the poles will have more muted clothing and artwork. Color can act as a signifier of the environment that the character comes from. In other words, color tells a
Alright, so
story,
I'm pretty much
but
done.
how
Oh
to
yeah,
make
so
that
Milk, what do you
story
think?
more meaningful?
Oh, and I also gave
This is
her a
hardest to
cookie,
explain, but it is the most powerful step of the character design
which is a
process.
very nice touch.
In a nutshell, your job as an artist is to interpret reality through the lens of being human. You're a human, and you make art for other humans. Therefore, you should aim to create something that connects emotionally to the viewer's core human instincts. The artist has the ability to strip down detail, push the proportions, and bump up the color to connect the viewer directly with the feeling that a character gives you. Which of these do you connect with more?
Yeah, of
One is
course.
more realistic,
Anytime, Milk.
but which one's emotion reads clearer? Designing characters with simple, easy-to-read features will allow us to see that character's emotion more easily. We have empathy for characters that we can project ourselves onto and put ourselves into their shoes.
Scott McCloud calls this the masking effect.
A good character designer is a world-class observer. They pay attention to how a real person or animal makes them feel and focus in on the specific characteristics that amplify that feeling. And because an artist controls 100% of the screen space, every detail will strengthen the feeling that they want you to read. Which means animation can be more powerful than live action.
Pose is a form of exaggeration. Is your character feminine or masculine? Extroverted or introverted? Lazy or focused? A standard human body is capable of telling the story with pose alone.
When you design a character, don't just use the normal proportioned textbook anatomy for everybody.
Oh yeah, anime and comics do that all the time.
This design approach doesn't use the full range of possibilities that the medium of animation allows. There are so many different body types in the world. Take a look at this weightlifter versus this basketball player. Humans have the same core structure, but vary wildly from individual to individual. What kind of utility does their body have? A body is a reflection of the mind within, so observe, reflect, exaggerate that utility using shapes and pose. Let's exaggerate this submitted design by Joel.
We like this drawing because there's clearly a goofy interaction here. We just think the actual designs are a bit generic, and we want to keep the same poses and same art style, but exaggerate the body types to amplify the story more.
First of all, Joel, watch out for these tangents here. They flatten the drawing a lot. It's hard to tell that the demon is behind him. Now we're going to push the contrast more between these two characters. We're going to make this guy super thin, poised, and intelligent, and this guy's super big, intimidating, and stupid. The contrast is going to aid the joke in the interaction.
Nice.
Characters' bodies are generally made of 3 major shapes, and the scale difference between those shapes is what makes the character design appealing or not appealing. Notice the more dynamic spacing is more appealing. If your character design is starting to feel bland, draw these lines on your character, group them in a more dynamic way, and redraw it. These are like appeal rulers that you can always use to double check your design. Let's take a look at some of these designs submitted by Ege from Turkey.
We really like a lot of what's going on here. The designs are simple, and the artist actually designed on a lineup. Drawing on separate documents over a white void can lead to a lot of proportion issues when the characters are finally lined up together. When you design on the same document within a lineup, it allows you to compare the proportions and be more precise.
A great exercise when designing in a lineup is to create character trios. Using all the lessons we've learned so far, we can create a trio of characters that are drastically different from one another in silhouette, palette, shape motif, body variety, and pose. So the challenge is, even with all these differences, can they exist in the same universe? Lineups with good variety will feel like a roller coaster. Bad lineups will be a boring train track.
Alright, so since I'm all done, and it looks like I've done 2 sketches so far, yeah, so I definitely have time for one more sketch request. Yeah, so the third one is going to be the last one for tonight. So let me just bring up the rules and the wheel. So let me see if Carter is back.
So what's the best way to exaggerate your characters more effectively?
Alright, let me check. Yeah, so unfortunately there's no sign of Carter, but let me refresh my Twitch channel.
And that doesn't mean just browsing through Pinterest.
Yeah, because right now I'm just checking out the community tab, and it shows me like a list of all the people on the chat.
Clarity of exaggeration comes from your understanding of story. Having good reference
Yeah, I
is going to
mean,
help you explore
if
every
Carter is
possible
not
idea
here,
to
then
find the
the
best
win
possible
automatically goes to you, that boy Darius.
So it's always worth your time. The best storytellers are the ones
Yeah,
who
so I just
actually
checked again.
have
Carter is
stories to tell.
definitely not here.
What really makes a good character design? I've been working for years in the animation
Alright,
industry,
so
and my
since
honest answer is
that boy Darius is the only
no idea.
person, and I don't see
What I've
any other
gathered
new
is that
people
designs with clear silhouettes
requesting for a
and
sketch.
recognizable palettes,
Oh, and of
like
course
some kind of
excluding the
exaggeration,
previous winners.
tend to last for a long
The first
time
one
in our
goes, I mean,
human
the
zeitgeist.
third and final sketch goes to that boy
The
Darius.
final ingredient to every design is
Oh yeah, no,
story.
of course, Zane. I was already gonna do that, and of course I've also like added the spin time to 60. So let's make this official. Clicking on the wheel in 3, 2, 1, and let's do this.
Designers change their art style constantly to best emphasize the meaning behind every project that they're working on. Shows like South Park would be bad if you delivered the same jokes and the same story in an overly rendered style. The show's writing is crude and silly, and it doesn't take itself too seriously, and the style reflects that perfectly. You might
Oh
not
yeah, no,
like
I
that
noticed the
style,
Loud
but
House
it's an
too.
example of extremely successful design. And vice versa, a story like Grave of the Fireflies could not be told in a style like South Park's. Personally, I think the best design is like a Beatles song. It's a very simple melody, but the unique execution is what makes it shine. The song Blackbird is an exact amount of melody, harmony, and guitar. And the moment you add anything else, the song is ruined. The real trick to character design is to go with a simple idea executed well. Simple designs encourage the animators to have fun. You don't want to bog them down with a bunch of patterns and pockets.
Now, before you go, check out our
All
friend's
right.
YouTube channel. Jupus is a freelance
And we
illustrator
got
with a
our
fantastic
final
video that
results. So
explores
it
the
turns out
fundamentals
that
of
the
character
third
design
and
to
final
great
winner
depth.
is that boy Darius 19. Yeah, congrats, man. Yeah, so once again, that boy Darius is the third and final winner.
Has a unique silhouette, and you can pretty much tell who the Pokemon
And of course,
is
let me just put this in the chat.
with the exception of like
Yeah.
And animation is the best animation history
Yeah,
channel
actually,
on
it's been a while
YouTube.
since I've done that.
Such quality writing and production value.
Action in Western animation of the 1990s and 2000s was dominated by a realistic style.
Alright, so congrats to the third and final winner at that boy Darius.
Was considered, of course, but the action
And let me
was
just
very
throw in
slow,
some of my
almost
personal
brutish.
emojis, as always.
The spacing
And
of
oh wait,
motion is far more
yeah,
precise.
one of them is not
Photos
matching,
highlighted
so
with keyframes,
let me just
and
get
then
rid of it.
everything just sped up so our eyes register a longer held pose.
And his Irish accent is like listening to butter.
And thanks for watching. Now, technically, this is the end of the original 12 videos that we plan to do on this channel. So this is the end of BAM. Just kidding. We love doing this, so we'll be back soon with more videos.
Season 2, Brent. BAM forever. 100 years.
100 years of BAM.
Yes.
I will live to 130 years old, and then we will have 100 years of BAM.
I'm going to clone my own body and raise that clone in my image, training him day after day to edit videos, draw, redraw. That's what the whole channel is about, redrawing people's art. I'll mold him in my image, and when I die, he'll hate me, he'll resent me, but he will be motivated by guilt to continue the channel, therefore, for your viewing pleasure.
Aren't all channels motivated by guilt?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, especially this one.
Yeah.
I'm going to train an AI bot by making it read 1,000 hours of BAM scripts.
Oh yeah, that sounds good.
That's smart. Yeah.
Yeah, so thankfully I already have my Discord tab open. Yeah, but I'll make sure to check out your messages. But yeah, so thank you, Dablo Darius.
At gmail.email.
Yes. Love it. Cool.
Yeah. Are we
Season
good?
2, Brent. More videos.
There.
Okay, it's 10:48 in the morning. I have to re-record this whole thing because the first time that I recorded it, it was a mess and the mouse wasn't there and you could not tell where anything was. So, let's try again. Hello everybody, I'm Jake Neutron, and today I'm just going to go over some basic tools that I use in Adobe Animate as like a part 1 to a tutorial series that I kind of want to do. Take this as a pilot. If you like it, I'll do more. Adobe Animate has been a program that I've been using for over half a decade. It's a very powerful tool. It's just not stable. It is not stable. Adobe Animate is not stable. For me, when I was first starting out and learning Adobe Animate, I found this one tutorial video that went over like the basic tools and just like the basic stuff that you would be using when opening the program, and that was a very good foundation because I was able to figure out everything else after that, like on my own. Because I can't find the video again.
Oh right, actually let me use this opportunity to take a quick break. But yeah, so I'll be right back in about 5 minutes.
File, when you open the program, it's going to give you this new document window. I always use the regular HD preset. I don't go to full HD and 4K because I'm going to be real with you, this is a vector program. You do not need to be working with a really huge canvas. Having a large canvas means that the computer has to think a little harder about the project because of the size. So it's best to just stay at 720 or anywhere lower that works for you. I always work with 720. Now, when you first open the program, it's like if this is your first time opening the program, your layout's probably going to look different than mine. Maybe even if this isn't your first time opening it, it probably will look different than mine. But I'm going to just show you briefly different areas of the layout. Over here is where I placed all my tools. Down here is the timeline. There's an output section that usually it will just like tell you if there's errors with it trying to render or something. I think it's more useful for if you're like doing games in Adobe Animate, because then this is basically just the debug window. And then over here is where I put all literally every other tab that I use. I have my properties tab over here. I have my library tab over here. My assets tab, which I never use. I don't even know why I still have it there. I use my frame picker is here, and my color tab is here. And down here, I've placed some of the plugins that I have downloaded. They're not very useful right now, so I'm just going to close group. The first set of tools that I'm going to go over are
basically all the drawing tools that you use to create things on the stage and etc. Before I discuss the different tools, I want to talk about the difference between fills and strokes. Fills and strokes are two different kinds of what I'm going to call drawing objects in Adobe Animate. So let's grab this rectangle tool and let's draw. Well, let me pick two distinct colors. To the left. In fact, you know, let's choose a little bit more of a distinct color than yellow. It's kind of blended with the background. But okay. So we have the stroke and we have the fill. The fill is what you would assume it would be. It's kind of just the filled in area of a drawing. Most drawings in the program are probably going to be fills. Yeah, you can move and morph them however you please. But then the strokes are kind of stuff that can go around fills and or be filled. But one thing that lines have over fills is that like most of the editing that you're going to do to fills is going to be completely manual. Like you're going to have to like move the vertices of those shapes on your own. You can do the same thing with strokes, but also you can change the width of the stroke. You can change the way the width dynamically works. Like you can change if like you want it to taper off in a certain way. You can even change the style of you can even change the style of the stroke. You can choose from this library of different kinds of brushes that can be used, and you can even make some that can be used on these strokes. You can also change rather the corners of it are going to be round or just kind of beveled off or sharp, etc., etc. Very flexible. Strokes are very flexible. Another difference between fills and strokes is that they have their own, like, how would I describe? The program organizes them into their own, like, color types. Like, you're going to have, down here in this section is where you usually will, like, mess with your colors. Or select what colors that you are currently using, or you're going to draw, or you're going to fill. This is the fill color. And then this is the stroke color. And whatever colors you select here will be the ones that you will create with. And it'll be like that for all tools. Well, now that we've gone over that, let's now look over the tools that use the fill and strokes in various ways. So the first tool that most people are going to be just kind of like, it's going to be obvious to them, is the classic brush tool. The classic brush tool is probably the most basic way to draw in this program. Drew a little Jake with the classic brush tool. The classic brush tool creates fills. Like all your drawings are going to be made of fills. The same goes for the fluid brush tool, which is kind of like the classic brush tool, but the classic brush tool has only a few settings. You can mess with the size of the brush, and you can change the minimum size of it and the smoothing and a few other settings that like aren't really relevant for right now. Meanwhile, the fluid brush tool is closer to the kind of control you would probably have with a Photoshop or Procreate brush. Maybe excluding like being able to mess with the texture, but like you can, it has a stabilizer, it has curve smoothing, etc., etc. I don't typically use this, and it's mainly because I don't think my computer is powerful enough to handle it. When I draw with it, that happens. it's supposed to look smooth, like super smooth, but not with me. It gets a little confused when I draw too fast. So I tend to leave it away. Then we have the line tool, which you'll be shocked creates lines. Another tool that creates lines, but it's this one. I was so happy when they introduced it because it was essentially a way to draw more controlled lines in the same way that you would using the classic brush. They had a tool called the pencil tool, but like you couldn't control the sensitivity, and like it didn't really respond to your pressure settings on your pen. But now we have the paintbrush tool, which creates lines that look like that, and you can still edit them in the same way that you would be able to edit other lines. Change the stroke size, you can change the width density, etc., etc. Very useful. Next we have the pen tool, which is essentially like the line tool, except continuous until you like stop it or something. When you're drawing objects, if you hold down, you can like control the curve like this. I feel like there's a good chunk of tools in here that if you use Adobe Illustrator, you'll be like, oh yeah, like that. I don't know nothing about Adobe Illustrator though, so I don't know how different these two are. One more tool that messes with lines is the width tool, which you can use to make points and control the width of lines at certain places. You can move where the width is controlled. It's very useful for if you want a little bit more control over how your lines look on drawings. And then there is the color picker, which you can use obviously to color pick colors. I will say though, I just learned this the other day when I was recording the first version of this tutorial, that when you color pick on the color picker can tell if you're color picking from outline or a fill. So if you use the color picker on a fill, it's going to copy that color to the fill thing over here. But if you use the color picker on a line, it's going to color pick it to the strokes thing. I really wish I knew what this was called. And one last tool to look at for these drawing objects is the paint bucket tool and the ink bottle tool. The paint bucket tool is basically a way to fill in or recolor fill objects. So see right here, this box that's closed, I can fill it in with the fill color. Or if I wanted to change the color of any of these here, I could choose a different color for the fill, and oh look, I can recolor. Wee, ooh, didn't even do that. On the flip of the coin, there is the ink bottle tool, which the ink bottle does the reverse, where it creates strokes. You can either use it to change existing ones. Like, by the way, with the ink bottle tool, you can also change like the stroke size of what it's going to create and the width. So I could do that and it will just change it like that. Or I can use it to create strokes around fill objects that already exist. So if I use the ink bottle on the square, it's going to put lines around it. If I use it around this disgusting line I have drawn with the fluid brush, it will create lines around it. And there are a lot of very useful applications for doing this stuff. This is also something that I found useful, especially when doing shading, is that when you select everything, you can go over to here and you can manually change the colors like this, which is cool on its own, but you can also just decide to completely delete them like this. And you can do the same thing with the strokes. Now the reason why this is useful is, say, let's reset these colors. you want to do like some cell shading on a drawing, you could use the line tool or the paintbrush tool. Create a line there, and say you want to recolor it to darker color here. You're like, oh no, now there's this disgusting stroke in the way. We'll just go over to here and kill it. And there you go. Now you have a cell shader. I think if there is any other tool that I would like to show off real quick before we move on to the selection tools, the text tool. And it does what you think it is. It makes text. So I'm going to call this side. Oh, I cannot spell. Strokes. Now, the interesting thing about text objects is that they're made of fills technically, but grouped in such a way that you can't edit them like fills unless you break them apart. So say if you really wanted to like mess with these outside of the regular settings of like when you have a text object, you can mess with the font, you can mess with the size, you can mess with the color. It will say fill right here. There are paragraph and align settings down here. But if you break these apart, the first layer of breaking them apart just turns them into several different letters, which could be useful on its own if you wanted to turn them all into symbols and animate them separately. You could do cool stuff like that. You could do cool stuff with that, and I might show that off someday. But if you break them apart again, they just turn into fills, just regular fills that you can mess with in the same way that you would any other fills. You can even ink bottle them. Wow, that is disgusting. Oh, real quick, I did forget one tool. I forgot about the eraser tool. Do you need me to explain what the eraser tool does? Do you need it? Do you need... Let's move on to the selection objects. I'm going to draw something real quick that we can use for manipulating. Oh, look at her. There's a little Ellie. Which, by the way, there is going to be a plush line of her made soon, so that's going to be exciting. The first one is just the regular selection tool. You can use that, you can select drawing objects, symbols, literally anything on stage you can just select with it. Move them around and whatnot. But you are limited. I feel like you're most likely not going to be using the selection tool unless you just need to select something very accurately. And then there's like a sub-selection tool, which when you click on a drawing object or something, it will like show all the vertices and points on it. Again, you probably aren't going to be using that unless you are like doing cleanup. The tool that you are probably going to use the most is the free transform tool. And with the free transform tool, actually gives you the ability to, well, transform stuff. So say we select everything, it gives you the ability to rotate, skew, scale, and move, which you could do anyways, but now you can do all four. To rotate objects, you don't grab the specific corner, but you grab next to it, or really next to any of these corners, and it lets you be able to rotate the object on its pivot here, like in the center, this little dot. If you want to scale an object, you do grab it from either any of the corners or any of these dots, really, any of these like square dots along the vertices and faces of the object. If you want to be able to scale it, but if you want to scale it uniformly, hold Shift, and that should keep its maintained size. If you want to skew an object, You grab one of the lines on any of the sides. It should give you the ability to skew however which way you want. And this pivot here, if you moving this pivot anywhere will control from what point the scaling and rotation stuff happens. So like if I have the scale here, it's going to shrink towards the pivot. If I have the pivot there, it will also rotate from that pivot as well. I believe the skew also does it too. Well, it will skew from the pivot. One last selection thing is these various selection. Or next is the lasso tool over here. Just like in every other art program, the lasso tool lets you draw this like line around everything, and whatever is in there will get selected. Alternatively, there is the polygon tool, which I'm going to be real with you, I never use because I find it absolutely infuriating. Because you can get all the way around, but it's very hard to just complete the thing. It will just... And then the last tool is the magic wand tool, which the magic wand tool, I'm pretty sure is meant to like work in the same way that it does like in Procreate and Photoshop, where it will grab a certain threshold of colors. I find it's most useful when you are trying to edit bitmap fills. So let me grab an image real quick. Let's use the thumbnail for this. Now, this is a bitmap object. It could be a PNG, JPEG, whatever. It will just turn into a bitmap when it's put into Adobe Animate. For us to use the magic wand tool on it, we're going to have to break it apart and turn it into what I think is essentially just a bitmap fill, where it is a fill color, but just the picture. It's just the picture. But with that, you are able to use the magic wand tool and select just like you would in Photoshop or anything else. And you can grab based on that. Like, look at that. Oh, I forgot the end. With the selection tools out of the way, let's move on to looking at some of the stage and timeline tools. So this here is the hand tool. You can use it to move around the stage. Hold on. You have to make sure that you're not on. If you're on fit in window, it will always just stick right there. So you're on select choose frame so that it's more free roam. And now you can move this around the stage. You want to recenter it. You can use the recenter thing. There's also the rotation tool, which you can access either through over here or by clicking it over here. And it lets you rotate the stage. So if you have like a drawing that you need to like do from a different angle, you can do that. And then there's the time scrub tool, which this would be way more useful to show off if I was doing an animation right now. But essentially it just kind of scrubs through the timeline right here. You can just like click and drag, it will go forwards and back how you want. There obviously the zoom tool, which you can use to zoom in, zoom out. You can use it like the selection tool and zoom into specifically what you want. The last one is the camera tool, which when you click on it, it will create a camera layer. And the camera is very useful for animations and scenes, mainly because before, if you didn't have a program like VCam, if you wanted the camera to move around, you essentially had to take every object in the scene and put them into certain symbols and manually animate them moving around, like manually slide them around with some tweezers. Now, with the camera tool, you can just move just the camera and it will move across the stage. You can zoom, fucking auto recovery. You can zoom, you can tilt. It's animatable on the timeline. You can animate the camera. I'll probably show that off some other time. There are different effects for it. there are some advanced layer settings where like you can have multiple layers that are, there's different depth to them. So when the camera moves around, it will look like it's parallaxing. It is not perfect. Somehow, Adobe Animate still fucks up this. If you are going to use layer depth stuff, you're gonna never want it to go, you're never gonna want layers to go under 0. Because when things are in the foreground, it gets all glitchy with the rendering. So you're gonna want to always like stage things of the thing that's in the front, the most front, will always be at 0, and then everything else, their depth will be higher, just to prevent things from breaking. I think I've gone over everything. Oh wait, I haven't shown you all the asset warp tool. Okay, so there is this neat tool that they introduced a little while back called the asset warp tool. And the asset warp tool is very powerful. I think it's the most powerful thing that they've introduced in this program. But it is very broken. Very broken. I will create something to demonstrate. Last night I drew Glazy as an example, and you know what? I'll do it again. I'll do it again from scratch. You know what? We're going to make Glazy dance. That's what we're going to do. By the way, if I'm editing this the same day that I'm recording it, that means that it's Glazy's birthday. So happy birthday, Glazy! Oh, and Cypher's birthday. Happy birthday, Cypher. Happy birthday to Cypher and Glazy. I swear, every single time I've drawn Glazy the past few days, I've used a different shade of green. Optimize this real quick, because one thing when you're using the asset warp tool, if you want to have the least amount of glitching, optimize the drawing. The asset warp tool, I keep calling it the pen tool sometimes, but that's not what it is. The asset warp tool is basically like a puppeteering like tool that you can use on drawing objects and bitmaps. I might do some experiments with like animating bitmaps and then do a tutorial on that. But for now, let's take this drawing that I've created. We're gonna turn it into a little dancing thing with Glazy. Oh yeah. Look at them go. So basically what the asset warp tool does is that you're able to put these pins into an object so that you can control how they are morphed around. And this is very powerful, especially for if you have like some simple motions like hair or such that you want to manipulate without having to completely redraw them every single time. In some places it will look better than trying to redraw it, but in other places it will be better to just redraw it yourself. A lot of this is like, it works with tweening, but tweening is a very hard thing to control. I feel like if I ever do a video about how to use tweening, that's going to be, that might actually end up being its own series because tweening is a little complicated. But for now, let's do a quick animation of, you know, Glazy just doing a little dance. This is definitely an interesting route that I could take, but we can get a little bit more extra than this. These both look crazy. But this is indeed how you can use that warp tool. Alright, so I feel like that's about the end of this basics tutorial. Again, consider this like the pilot to doing a larger set of tutorial videos. I have a lot of knowledge on Adobe Animate, so I might as well be sharing it. Wanted to originally do this live, but my computer is not strong enough to handle that. So for now, I either gonna have to do just these videos or figure out some way to like maybe do like Discord streaming tutorials. Like maybe I'll like use one of my friends' servers or just create one specifically for this. But for now, tell me your thoughts in the comment section. If you have questions, I will try to answer them, depending on if they are too if they're simple enough so where I could just say them in the comment section, or if they're too complicated, I'm gonna have to just do a video on them.
In this video, I will show you how to create 2D animation in Clip Studio Paint.
We bring you tonight's exciting story.
What's up guys, my name is Van Mercurial, I'm a 2D animator and I've been using Clip Studio in my projects for the last 5 years now. And today I'm putting all of that experience together and giving you an introduction to animation in Clip Studio Paint. I'll be using the EX version of the program, but you can also work with the Pro version. The only difference is you are limited to 24 drawings per animation file. So let's go to File, New, and select the animation preset.
Super quick overview of what we have here.
First, you can choose the resolution that your canvas will have, both in width and height. You have a small preview of how it's looking right next to it. The blue square is your canvas. You can also choose between having a tile safe area, which is also known as a TV save. This is an imaginary outline that will not show up in the final render, but reminds you not to draw too close to the borders. You can see the canvas preview is updating with these changes, so you always know what you're getting. On the other hand, we also have the option for an overflow frame. This is an extra space around the canvas, and you can use the reference point squares if you want to push it off center. And the cool thing is this will not be rendered in the final video, but allows you to have more room to breathe when drawing your animation. Now onto your timeline settings. Here is your scene's frame rate. This is how many drawings per second your animation will run at. I recommend you always keep it at 24 since it's an industry standard to show 24 drawings per 1 second. This is so we can work on 2s and 3s, which is 1 drawing every 2 or 3 frames respectively. But we have the option to work on 1s, which is 1 drawing every frame if we need to. The only exception is if you're working with Clip Studio Pro, you can lower this to make your animation last several seconds instead of only 1. We also have our playback time, which is measured in frames and tells us how long our animation scene will be. Since I want my animation to be 4 seconds long to start, I will multiply 24 times 4 is 96 and write 96 frames of playback time. Now you may be wondering why I'm working in this square resolution, 1000 by 1000 pixels, as normally you would go for something more standard like 1920 by 180, which is the resolution of most monitors. But today we're animating something special. Now I want to make it clear, everything we will learn today you can apply to any of your animations regardless of what it is. I just chose this as an example today. So we're going back to square format. And now let's click OK. Now the square you see is what the program would export if we were to render a video, and in our layer panel you will see we have an animation folder with an animation cell in it and also a paper. Now this may seem like a bit too much, but as someone who spends hours upon hours every day staring at a screen, it's important to take care of our eyes. So I'm going to click on my paper, and in my layer properties panel I will get the option to click this white and change it to an easier on the eyes gray color and click OK. Now right off the bat the program might look different for you. So let me show you where to find anything that I'm clicking if it's not the same for you. For example, the layer property panel. You just have to go to Window and here they all are. Here's the layer property for example, but we're looking for something way more important, which is our timeline. So if you're ever missing our animation timeline, here it is. Let's just click it.
Quick overview round 2.
First of all, you can see it is also showing our animation folder and our paper. Yours might be showing a thumbnail, Personally, I turn this off because it gives me more space. By going here to the timeline options and going to thumbnail size and switch it to none. But it's up to you however you want to use it. Now, if you started a file without using an animation preset, your timeline might look like this. You can go to this button to create a new timeline, and then in this pop-up you can select the options like the frame rate and the playback time. Next we have the play or stop button for the animation. And next to the playback controls we have the new animation folder and new animation cell buttons. Let's talk about animation folders. First of all, I can draw here, and if I go to another place in my timeline and then click on the new animation cell button, I will create a new cell on my timeline, but also a new layer inside the animation folder. I can then go ahead here, place another one, and let's add another one. And you see I am creating new layers inside my animation folder. But what happens if I create a new layer inside the folder? It's not showing up here. I also have the option to right click on the timeline and select which drawing I want to show. And there we go. Now it does not matter what type of layer you're using here. I could go and create, instead of a new raster layer with this button, a new vector layer with this one. Now I will place my vector layer. And if I keep using the button to create new animation cells, you'll see now the program is creating vector layers. You can see the vector icon here, and the raster layers have none. So the program understands what you're working with. Now, if I wanted to remove any of these drawings, let's say number 3, I don't have to grab it and delete it, because that would leave an empty space. I would just go and click on the delete specified cells button, and it would delete it, but still saving the drawing in here, in case I need a backup. Don't worry, we're gonna dive deeper into the animation folders, but for that I need to show you what we're doing today. So this is my original character, Seraphine. I normally call her Sarah. And if you're wondering why she's wearing a ridiculous hat, well, you're just gonna wait for the next video and you'll get your answer. I want to work on a new profile picture for all my social media, but I wanted to animate it. So what I'm going to do is select some of these drawings and animate the character using the pose to pose method, going from, let's say, this one to this one, finally to this one. I'm going to select my drawings, cut them, and paste them here. Now you will notice here I was working with a vector layer, and you might want to too. Let me just make a copy of this one, and now I will turn the same drawing into a raster layer by right clicking on it and clicking rasterize. This one will be my raster layer, this is my vector layer. So the obvious reason to use a vector layer is if I later have to resize this, since vectors are point-to-point information, no matter how big you make them, they will never lose any detail whatsoever. But raster, or also known as bitmap layers, are made out of pixels, so they're not looking so hot once you make them bigger. So if you think you might have to resize your drawings, it's a good idea to work with vectors. They also work great if you plan on using the correct line tool without having any artifacts. It allows you to do things like changing the line width however you want, or adding control points and moving them around. I can also use the vector eraser tool, which deletes everything from a point onward. This is very helpful to fix imperfections in your drawing quickly. Okay, I've copied my 3 key poses to this file, each one on a different layer. I could just go to the new animation folder button, drop them in there, and then just right click on the timeline and select each one of the drawings. Oh, let me turn on the opacity. And this would definitely work, but Clip Studio gives us a lot of options to keep our files ordered, and I recommend you take advantage of it. You can go to this button, edit track, and rename all the layers inside of your animation folder, either in a timeline order or in a layer order. And you see, they have been renamed. And also, I will separate certain parts of the character on different folders. This is not mandatory, this is just to make my life easier, since things like the hair tend to lag behind, or the letters in her hat need to stay solid. So all I'm doing is making a selection in the first folder and then cutting and pasting onto the next folder, always respecting the naming convention of 1, 2, and 3 for each of the key poses. Okay, now I have my 3 rough keyframes separated by the base in one animation folder, the hair in another one, the color in another one, and the letters in another one. This in every drawing by using the power of the animation folders. And the good thing about doing this is if, for example, I wanted to change the hair, I could just do a broad selection in the third drawing of the hair animation folder and just change it however I want, and it's not gonna affect the rest. So you might want to do this or not on a case-to-case basis, but I do find it really useful for the rough stage of the animation. Now, speaking of the naming conventions in Clip Studio, let's say I want to create a breakdown between this pose and this pose. So I will go right here in the middle and press the new animation cell button for all of them. You will notice the name that the program is using, 2A. So it's now a number plus a letter. If I were to create another one between those two, it will be 2B. So it continues using the same naming system. This works both for layers that you create by clicking this button, or if you go in here and just create a new layer. We can use just numbers for our keyframes and a number and a letter for our breakdowns. What can we do for in-betweens? Let's say I want to create an in-between between 2A and 2B. If I create a new layer here, it will name it layer 1, but we can help it by naming it 2A1. Let's place it here. And now if I create another in between here, so we can keep our animation on 2s, which is one drawing every 2 frames, it will name it 2A2. So it continues with the naming convention. Again, if I create new layers here, 2A3, 2A4. This might seem unnecessary, but when you start working with more complex scenes and a lot of animation folders, having different characters in the same scene and coloring them, you'll see it starts getting a little confusing of where the key poses are, where are my breakdowns, so I do recommend using this system to your advantage. Okay, too much theory.
Let's get drawing.
Going back to where I only had my first in between, I actually want to go here and show you that between these two drawings, her hat, the letters, and the, let's call them metal ears, are exactly the same. So I could just duplicate the drawings that I have already done and delete the parts that I need to change. So we are going to do that. I'm going to open my animation folder, click on the drawing that I will duplicate and drag it onto the new layer button. And see, it's creating a duplicate that's called 1A, and it is the same drawing. If I modify this one, I still have the other one. But the important thing why I want to show you this now is that it is keeping the naming convention. Let's set a blank 1A frame. We can't start animating without introducing our best friend in digital animation, the onion skin tool, which is here in this button, and it will show a ghost of the previous drawing and the next drawing. Now to change the onion skin options, we will go to our timeline menu, which is this button right here, and go to show animation cells, and here they are, the onion skin settings. You can choose how many drawings you wanted to show and which colors you want to use. I recommend you keep this color since most animation software use the same convention, where blue is the previous drawing and green is the next one. Okay, finally I'll start animating. We're 12 minutes in. Now the point of this video was to give you the tools to start animating in Clip Studio Paint if you have never done it. Obviously there's a lot to cover and we're still not done. I'll still explain what I did, but it will be very brief since the focus in this video is the software. And I'll make other videos where I can do a deep dive into my process and things like animation fundamentals, post-production, and a professional pipeline. Nonetheless, what I'm doing is applying everything that I just taught you and using it to go from one key pose to the next one and thinking, what do I need in the middle? So here, taking advantage of the fact that I can separate the hair from her base features, I can apply a bit of squash and stretch to the breakdowns going from this pose to this one. She first rises a bit, rises before going down. You can see that. But I also can add a couple more breakdowns between those poses to change how she goes up. So you can see I'm dragging some features in her face. The body is already turning. And then when she's going down, we actually overshoot and then settle. So this is the result. So this is more interesting than just going from one pose to the next, adding in-betweens right in the middle. We will do the same from pose 2 to 3. I'll also start defining the animation charts, drawing them outside the canvas, and they are the information that allows me to know where we will have acceleration and deceleration. It is also kind of an in-between guide, since it's telling me the spacing that the in-betweens should have. I know I'm throwing a lot of animation jargon around, but again, we will break it down on our future videos. For now, once I'm happy with my rough animation, we can move on to cleanup. So let's look at what tools Clip Studio offers to make the tie-down and cleanup process easier for us. At this point, I am done with my keyframes and breakdowns. I'll change the timeline soon with this button. Let's check what we have. As you can see, it now loops. Now, I was fairly clean with this rough. Let me show you another example, which is this scene from my first short film. And even though it looks this clean in the program, this is the rough animation. So again, the main keyframes, and in this case, I did do some rough in-betweening, which you can also do if you need to test how the animation will look with in-betweens. Now, in a case like this, where I cannot reuse any of this rough, we would have to trace it over in another animation folder. This is what we call the cleanup. Now, I want you to pay close attention to what I'm about to explain, because this is a banger of a tool that Clip Studio offers. I'm going to show you the secret to using animation folders like a professional. This is how we do it in the anime industry, and once I learned it, I just can't go back. I'm going to create a new animation folder, which will be my cleanup. Now, one recommendation I have here to avoid getting your layers panel cluttered is to use this button right here to change the palette color of the folder. You can also do it for individual layers, but this is basically just color coding. So I will do blue for my rough, red for my cleanup. You can pick up the colors that you want. So one way you could start your cleanup is just grab these 3 folders, lower their opacity, and make a new animation cell on the folder we just created, and just basically trace everything. You would be really careful with the line, and in places like this, you would only leave the final line that we can see, so not showing any transparency. Now, you could do this for the entire drawing. Another thing that your cleanup should have is guidelines for your light and shadows, but you cannot do it in the same layer, because otherwise it is impossible to separate it from the actual line, because once you do the shadow fields, these have to be erased, and if you're drawing them in the same layer, it is impossible. So what can we do? Then we create another layer, right? Wrong, because remember, the animation folder can only show one element at a time. So even though I created a second layer, I cannot draw on it. You can see the symbol that I get when I try to. So I would just create several animation folders, each for every pass, right? That could be an option, but there is a better way. And for that, I need to explain how normal folders work inside Clip Studio. So if I went over here and create a new normal folder, just place it here, and I grab these 2 layers, place them inside the folder. Now I can go onto layer 2. Let's name it shadows, and this one, let's call it line. So in my line layer, I am drawing everything that is the main black line for the character. In my shadows layer, I would draw everything that is the shadows for the character, probably here, caused by the cap, maybe here, caused by the hair. And see, I can have both. And if I need to turn off my shadow, then I can just do this. But again, I cannot grab these 2 and put them back into the cleanup folder, because then I can only show either the line or the shadows. If there was only a way to show both at the same time, well, go back, and once they are inside the folder, I will grab that folder and throw it inside the animation folder. And now I can select for my animation folder to show the normal folder. And now I have both, and I can turn off whichever I want. And if I wanted to have more layers here, well, I can just create a new layer and draw on it. But I could start getting confused, right? Maybe I just didn't realize, and I'm drawing in this one layer with a black line, and then when I go turn it off, I realize, oh no, I'm in the wrong layer. Well, I'm going to one-up you with a fail-proof mode we use in the anime industry, so this never ever happens. And for that, we're actually going to turn everything into a black line. I'm going to press Ctrl and U in my keyboard to open a hue and saturation adjustment and turn the luminosity all the way down. I'll do the same with the other layer. And now everything is a black line. Then how can we add color? Well, with this button right here, change layer color. I'm going to click it. And again, the layer property panel, if you can't find it, it's on window, layer property. Yours might look like this. It doesn't matter if it's not showing the subcolor. I'm going to change this color by clicking on this box to black, because this is my line. For the shadows, I'm going to click the change the layer color button and go with a blue. And for the letters line, again, click here, change it to an orangey yellow. Now what's happening right now, you can see this icon here, is these layers are forced to always draw in this color that I just selected. So I don't even have to pick colors anymore. I'm always going to draw with black. And look at what happens. If I'm in the letters line color, everything I draw will be yellow. If I go to the shadows, everything I draw is going to be blue. And if I click in the line, everything I draw is going to be black. Now this animation folder, I will name correctly. So right now we're working on the third pose. This will be called 3. Now if I want to work on the second one, then again, create a new animation folder, name it 2. Place it over here, and inside of this normal folder, I will create the layers. Now you're not forced to do this every time. You can just make an empty one and just start duplicating it and have it as a backup. So as you can see, this is a great way to work effectively with animation folders. In my case, in this specific animation, I will actually use my rough animation since it's fairly clean, and just duplicate the drawings and drop them into the folders, respecting the naming conventions, and then I'll erase the parts that shouldn't be transparent. And then with that and my spacing charts, I'll start in betweening. Now when you start using the opacity of the animation folders, your frame rate might get impacted. Well, mine's playing fine, but let's imagine that your program is starting to slow down, because I want to show you what to do in the case you're working with a heavy scene. Just in case, I want to show you about this menu, which is going into animation and playback settings. In here you can choose between prioritizing playing the animation in real time, which means having its timing to be exact even if it has to skip some drawings, or to play all frames, even if the animation has to play a little slower. And here's the real MVP, the render before starting playback button. This will force the program to do a little render no matter what, before actually trying to play the animation. This way, it will always show all frames and also play it at the correct speed. What could happen is it just takes a little longer before it starts. Now with this, and after we've done our cleanup, all that's left is doing our in-betweens, which is basically applying our spacing charts, making new animation folders with the pipeline that I just showed you, and using the onion scheme to check where should I draw my lines, or sometimes just selecting and transforming some of the vector lines to reuse drawings I already made. One tip I can give you when in-betweening is try not to draw right in the middle. I know this sounds counterintuitive, but what I mean is think of what parts are lagging behind and which others are leading the action. So even in the in-betweens, you will end up with more interesting drawings that help the animation flow and remember your squash and stretch. A good animation pipeline should solve all the problems of the production of this specific scene beforehand, so when you get to this point, which is in-betweening, it's just basically filling in the blanks of the blueprint that you've set. Once we're done with this, we can move on to coloring. For this, I will create a folder, I'll call it color base, and inside of it, I'll start adding all the different animation folders we will need, each for a different color piece. To do this, you will need to create raster layers, since vectors cannot be used with the fill tool, also known as the bucket tool. Now I will set all my empty raster layers in the timeline, and then start duplicating this empty animation folder, which is an easier way to get all the folders that I need. I will also save it with the name backup to have it ready just in case I need to duplicate an extra copy. Now, are you forced to do it this way? Not at all. Actually, in normal productions you wouldn't do it this way, because obviously it takes more time. I do it because it gives me more control. later on when it comes to post-production. But it is completely fine if you just make one animation folder and fill all the colors in there. Afterwards, it's just a matter of filling in with the bucket tool. Just being careful on which animation folder you are. A couple of tips I can give you with my fill tool is to turn on the close gap function so the color doesn't escape, and also the area scaling. So when you use it, it feels a little extra that will help cover those tiny little pixels that sometimes programs leave unpainted. That way you don't get any transparency where you don't need to. All that's left is filling in each one of the colors, one by one. This is a process that you can perfectly delegate, meaning asking someone else for help, since it's a process that doesn't need for them to be able to draw. And then you can use that extra time to focus on other aspects of the production or even other scenes. I also recommend using the sub view tool to set a reference where you can color pick each of the tones that you need. Once we have filled each animation folder with its respective color, we are ready for post-production. Guys, this is a topic that is dear and close to my heart because I love the stories that you can tell with lighting and color, and I'm making an entire video just focused on post-production for animation. So in this video, since the focus is giving you the tools to start animating with Clip Studio, I will just give you the highlights. But be sure to check out the other video later on when it's posted. Okay, first of all, the order of the layers matters a lot. One of the things I did is having the pupil color, which is this red, and the eye highlights to be on top of the line. You can see it by the color of each animation folder. Things like highlights or anything that has to do with a light look better when they are on top of the line, because then they either change their color or just cover it completely. If I had the highlight under the line, it wouldn't work well. If we go to this option right here, we can play with the blending modes, which is a way to mix the colors of one animation folder, or for that matter, any element in Clip Studio, with another. So I'm going to use the multiply blending mode for the shadows, and you can see
Alright, there we go.
I can also lower the
But yeah, I gotta say, this one is like the same quality that it did with the first sketch. But yeah, so That Boy Darius, if you're still there, what do you think? Oh, and then of course, thank you, Speed, for that nice emoji.
Also, you can scroll through them using your mouse.
Nice job. Yeah, thank you, thank you.
I do recommend having in mind what
All right, so let me see if I can send a sketch over to you. Oh, and of course, just to let everybody know, this is the last sketch request for tonight. Yeah, because right now I am feeling a little bit tired. But yeah, so once I send a sketch to That Boy Darius, and once I upload a sketch to my Discord server, I'm gonna be ending this stream. So in the meantime, just feel free to continue watching this video at the lower corner.
Clip to layer below button to, for example, paint a texture for the golden letters. By the way, they are golden. And then just clip it to the layer with the color of the text. And with that, I can get away with some easy texturing into the animation. This is something I use a lot. For example, I did the same with the blue gradient on her hair. It's just a blue gradient clipped to the pink hair layer. Finally, let's talk about another type of animation you can do inside of Clip Studio. We're gonna switch to this scene where I have this tiny animation of a character looking towards the camera, and you can see it's all done in Clip Studio. But can we do a camera movement too? The answer is yes, of course. I'll just go to my background image, which is this one right here, and now click on this button, the Enable Keyframes on this layer button. What this does is allow me to set keyframes in all transform properties of this layer. So this is scale, position, rotation, and even opacity. But let's focus on those three first, which are the most important for any interpolation in animation. So here's the option that tells us what type of interpolation we are creating. Hold means there will be no change from one keyframe to the other, it will just show the keyframe. Linear means it has no acceleration or deceleration, as the spacing will be totally even. And finally, the smooth interpolation, which is the most common, has acceleration and deceleration. So I'm going to the start of the scene, click here, and with the operation tool and the object mode, I have selected the background layer, and I will set a keyframe to all of these proportions, so position, scale, and rotation. Now I will move further down the animation, like here, and change the position to, let's say, 800 pixels to the right, maybe 900 even. And now if I scroll back, it has been animated. If you'd like to modify the curves of acceleration and deceleration, this button right here is the graph editor, which will change the view to this, and here you can play with the tangents. I can turn this button, the enable keyframes on this layer button, on and off whenever I want. And even though it returns to its original position, it will not forget the keyframes. And like I just teased, we can also animate opacity to generate effects like this. The lighting is changing. This is because I set different sets of layers. You can see them here. Some of them are turning off, others are turning on, and it creates a change of lighting. That is super helpful if you want to animate something like this. Or any change of color basically. I use this interpolation on her hair's blue gradient. Like I said, it's just one drawing that is clipped onto the pink hair base animation folder, and I animate it so it follows as the head moves up and down, so it doesn't feel like the blue part is fading away. Okay, let's talk about exporting options. First we will go to File, Export Animation, and here we have the options. If this is your final stop when it comes to this animation, you can either export as a GIF, I will just call it GIF, or a movie, which is a video. Let's start with the video. It will open this export window where you can see I've been saving the process. We can call this Final CSP Render, and you can either save it as AVI or MP4. I highly recommend MP4, and just click Save. Here are the options for your scaling settings and your frame rate. It will always start with the default size and the default frame rate. I wouldn't change anything here unless you need to, and click OK. Now the program will export and we will have an animation. And here we have our animation. She's alive! We can also export it as an animated GIF, and for this it will open the Save As window first, so we will call it Log Animation, and now we get the exporting.
Oh hey, Senpai Vibes, how you doing, my man?
A size around
Oh yeah,
500
so
pixels.
unfortunately, I just finished working on my last sketch request for tonight.
Sadly,
Yeah, so I'm gonna be ending the stream in about like 5 minutes or so.
Well, I guess you saw it in this video, so. But yeah, this.
But yeah, no, thank you so much for coming by.
100 pixels.
Oh yeah, if you're planning on streaming today or tonight, I'll see if I can jump onto your stream.
The export range and your frame rate are already set, and you can also set the loop count to a certain number of loops. But for most GIFs, we will want them to loop infinitely. We click OK. And here it is. Oh my god, it's so small. But it actually works quite well. Our final exporting option, in case you want to do the post-production in another software, is this one. Export Animation, Image Sequence. When you're going to post-produce animation, I always recommend you export a PNG sequence, which you can choose here. I will turn off every layer except the one I want to export before doing this. So let me cancel, turn off all the color, this too, and just leave the line art for the animation. And I will even turn off the paper, because another advantage of PNG is it retains transparency, and you can see this is transparent by the gray and white squares. So export animation, image sequence, and I will call this Sarah line, and you can see you have a separator, which is what will be between the sequence number and the name. It could be a lowercase, it could be a dash. I recommend you leave it like this. And the starting number, if you want to export it starting in 1, well, you will just change it here. I don't mind it starting at 0. Here's the type. The output frame is what you wanted to export. You can choose between the output frame or the entire canvas if you want the extra canvas space to also render. For me, I want just the actual output frame. And again, the frame export, which is the range and the frame rate. We'll leave it as is and just click OK. And you would repeat this for every single animation folder to export it as an image sequence that you can edit on another software. And here it is, guys. You can barely see it. I will have to double click and open it. It's still pretty hard to see because I have dark mode on, but hopefully you can see it. It's just, since it's transparent, it looks so dark. And with this, guys, this is the final result. Again, a post-production video is coming your way. Guys, I worked stupidly hard on this video, I hope you can tell. So if you like it, you know what to do. I can't wait to see what you will create using this. And remember, every line you draw, you are one line closer to your dream. Catch you later, guys.
Okay, I'm not something you should take stock advice from, but it'd be like a good time to buy is like during an actual crash.
No, I know, but what if it keeps going down? How? That's why I'm asking, because maybe it will. The 12 principles are the foundational building blocks behind every animation ever made. Developed by the animators that work with Walt Disney in the 1930s, they are considered the rules of the game. But we would have to wait until 1981 for them to be first printed on
The Illusion of Life.
The Illusion of Life.
The Illusion of Life, and it's a magnificent book. Would you welcome, please, Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston.
It was a quote from this book that inspired this video. In 1923, when it came to animation, people felt that everything had been done that was possible. That was 100 years ago when animation looked like this. But how can these principles remain constant in a medium that is always changing? Could this be why animators are struggling to learn the 12 principles of animation?
You have entertained all of us.
Alright, so I'm all done. And also, I gotta say, I'm very happy with all these 3 sketches.
In the 1920s, there was an exodus of
Oh, and of course, I'll be back streaming on the 19th of March. Since, you know, I am gonna be taking a break from streaming. But yeah, but I can't wait to see you guys again, and gals. And of course, thank you all for coming here to watch me draw, and I'll hope to see you all once I get back from my vacation. Alright, bye everyone.
There were no solid limbs, and when they showed emotions, lines would float in the air. To keep striving for innovation, Walt created the Silly Symphonies to massive success. They had a more artistic approach, and he instructed his animators to use them as a playground to find the next breakthrough. Animators like Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston, who would co-write The Illusion of Life and who joined Disney in 1934. They were a part of a select group of artists in their 30s who Walt jokingly called the 9 Old Men, and who became the supervisors and directors of all their following productions. Through the Silly Symphonies, these men were responsible for innovations like cycles and repeat actions. Nobody knew anything really. They just continued to search for better methods of relating drawings